Tolos, welcome in to the show. It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Already got 35 of you watching the live stream. You love to see it. The show's not even 60 seconds old, and already the Tolos are piling in. They're clamoring in. They can't get in. They're elbowing people out of the way to be able to join the stream, and we appreciate those of you who are willing to fight to be on this stream.
You gotta fight. We got a promo running with that already on there. By the way, I did want to say, as you're right, Tolos are jumping in quick. I did want to say, Tolos, our apologies. We had some weird technical difficulties in the last hour of yesterday's show. So if you heard half of Dawn Staley and then a little more of Dawn Staley, we apologize. Had some Comrex difficulties, and it happens.
Yeah, it felt like somebody ran some electricity through our headsets.
Yeah.
We heard this like weird crackling, popping sound, and then our Comrex just died on us.
It was weird.
Right there at 5:45. And then, trying to recover, trying to get things back in line after that took a little time, but we appreciate you, Tolos, for being patient.
Look at T-Swizzle, JB, Wesley, Rock.
I love it.
Starting off with a bang.
We need to get
Tolos,
Tom
baby.
from Somerville watching the stream.
He might not know how to stream.
I don't know how. Yeah, you can't. Sorry, Tom, you can't stream our video from the Audacity app.
He might. Yeah.
Can't
you know
do
what? Today is the Tolo takeover. By the way, at 5, we may can explain to him how to use the stream in the Tolo takeover. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll explain to Tom how to get on the stream. By the way, Tolos, T-Swizzle, JB, Wesley, I'm talking to y'all at 5 o'clock. Tolo takeover. Don't come in here on the stream big and bad and then not show up for the Tolo takeover at 5. Come on.
Cole, a lot of college football coaches are getting back out on the field, getting going in their first practices of the spring session. They get, 15, I think,
right,
spring
like
session practices. So this is their first chance to see all the guys that are on the on their roster for the first time, really out there competing against each other head-to-head. A limited number of opportunities. Then things get kind of crazy, and you may lose some guys off of your team. You may gain some more guys off of your team. But Cole, this is a big part of the season where the money is made for these coaches and their ability to sift through the best players on their rosters, the worst players on their rosters, finding guys that have a lot of talent but don't necessarily have great leadership skills. Or do you have a bunch of Rudies on your team, guys that have great leadership skills but just ultimately aren't all that good? The calendar never stops for college football coaches, and the debate also never stops on who are the top 10 coaches in college football. I would like for you, Tolos, to start texting into the show, 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, and getting on the stream. Tell us who absolutely must be on the top 10 coaches list, and somebody that you think doesn't deserve to be there at all.
I do agree with you on talent evaluation being important right now, but you know what I heard last year that has stuck with me? And I want to follow up next time we have him on, because, Diesel, you and I, at some point last year, talked to Shane Beamer. And I don't know if it was an interview we did in August or if we talked to him in May at that Gamecock Club event. But at some point, he told us last year that you really don't know who your roster is until May. I don't know if you remember him saying that or not, but when he said that, I kind of paused and thought, man, that's kind of difficult, right? Like, we're in March. You're going through spring practice. We have the spring game in a month from now. And to hear a SEC coach say, you really don't know who your roster is until May, it's like, what do you do? I mean, obviously there are plenty of things to do, but it's got to be tough to evaluate guys, to your point, right now, but not know what the roster is going to look like 2 months from now.
You know, part of me, if I'm a sitting head coach at a major college, I am begging for a player personnel GM to come in and say, you know what? I get to take my hands off the wheel when it comes to this. My team is who my team is, and it is your job to keep all of these players happy, not my job. Now, no, that's not how it works, right? Coaches have to constantly call and text and be on the horn with all their players to keep recruiting their rosters, because there's that old saying, if you're not talking to your players, then someone else is talking to
Sure.
your players, and that's how you end up losing 10, 15 guys over the course of the transition from spring into summer ball. T Swizzle already jumps in and says, "Who y'all got at number 2?" I guess that means he
Not
believes
number two.
Dabo Swinney is the number 1 coach in college football, but is he? That's a big question.
Ooh.
Is Dabo Swinney the number 1 coach in college football? I mean, certainly Kirby Smart would have something to say about that.
You're asking active, right?
Active, yes. Active head coaches in college football. Ryan Day would have something to say about that. Maybe not the absolute strongest argument, but, you got to kind of figure out what are the criteria first for how you even rank the top 10 coaches. What's important for a coach to be inside the top 10 is personality in the mix, is the number of conference championships you have in the mix, considering now that conference championships don't really mean a whole lot anymore other than having a chance to go play for a game and maybe take some more money.
Bill Belichick wants to know what a conference championship game is, by the way. He just texted in. What's a conference? Bill, you play at the end of the year before the playoffs. I know in the NFL, it's separate from the playoffs.
He's like, do we get rings for that?
We have 2 championships?
So T-Swizzle, I think T-Swizzle is guilty of being a little bit of a ring chaser. He only looks at the rings.
Ooh.
He says Kirby Smart, number 1, Dabo Swinney, number 2, Ryan Day, number 3, and that certainly goes 1, 2, 3 down the line when it comes to active coaches with national championships. Kirby and Dabo have 2. Ryan Day has 1. Kirby has championships recently. Dabo Swinney's are starting to get a little dusty over there on the shelf. And that's easy, right? It's easy to go 1, 2, 3 when it comes to national championships. This is where it starts getting difficult after 1, 2, 3. Who do you squeeze in from 4 to 10? And this is where things get really blurry, really messy. So I would like T-Swizzle. I would like JB to think beyond 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the top 10. Who are the top 10 coaches in college football these days? Is there a guy that you would absolutely leave off the list for some reason?
I'll tell you something funny. I was doing some research and found an article from last year. And this is legitimately funny. Diesel, there was an article on ESPN, and we can laugh now because Kalen DeBoer, look, he's still a very good coach. They weren't good last year. They weren't as good as they normally are. But do you know there was an article last year that ranked the top 10 coaches? And do you know that Kalen DeBoer was number 2, ahead of Dabo Swinney, ahead of Dan Lanning, ahead of Kirby Smart, Sarkisian, Ryan Day, Lane Kiffin? I don't know that range is true now in terms of Kalen DeBoer being ranked ahead of those guys. Obviously, to your point, we live in a what have you done for me lately society. So if I have to give you, did you give me your number 1 yet? I don't want to spoil the pooch here. Who's your number 1, just best coach right now?
Right now it's Kirby Smart.
Okay, I'm going to go with Kirby Smart as well.
Yep.
Now, I will tell you, in my head, I went back and forth between Kirby and Ryan Day. I love Ryan Day.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Ryan Day. So there's a little bit of debate in my head, but I think it's difficult to prove why Kirby's not 1. That's my problem.
Right.
He's got to be, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the number of national championships you have has to matter. Honestly, to me, I'd probably go Kirby, Ryan Day, then Dabo Swinney, number 3, because Dabo Swinney, it feels like his grip on the sport is slipping a little bit. He's still, winning a ton of football games. He's done it for an awfully long time. So that's kind of where I want to go with this, Cole, is what are the criteria for even being a top 10 coach? Who is it? Somebody, T-Swizzle says Steve Sarkisian has to be in the top 5. Well, Steve Sarkisian isn't even the top 15 when it comes to winning percentage as a college coach. He's really good at Texas right now, but it's a very short window.
And
are
that's
we looking at the last couple of years? Are we looking at total body of work? Are we looking at your ability to do it in multiple stops? What criteria are we going off
I'll tell you
here?
this. When you ask me, Diesel, to name my top 3, 5, or 10 current college football coaches, I think, just quickly in my head, I think, number one, who can continue to maintain success through different eras of college football, right? That's number one. Who's winning right now at a clip like no other? I also think about immediately who can recruit, right? Because recruiting's such a big part of the game. So those are the first three things that come to mind. I don't think about like winning percentage as more valuable than those things. I do think Steve Sarkisian's top 5. And I know he might not
Right
have
now?
the right now. And I would even argue that he might be closer to top 3 than a lot of people would think. I don't
some
know what it
recency
is.
bias
It
going
is.
on in
I
here.
love Steve Sarkisian. I really do. I think he's a heck of a football coach. But I'd go Kirby at 1, Ryan Day at 2, and I'd go Dabo 3. I think
Dabo 3.
I think
Interesting.
Dabo has to be at top 3, right?
So if you want to hear some numbers here, maybe this will help qualify, because there's a lot of emotion involved when it comes to picking coaches, and a lot of people will pick coaches that they like personally, that coach their teams, etc. So active coaches with national championships, there's only 3. Kirby has 2, Dabo has 2, Ryan Day has 1. If you want to go by conference championships,
Okay.
Dabo has 9. Lincoln Riley has 4, but they were all at Oklahoma, none of them at USC. Ryan Day has 2. Kirby Smart has 2. Dan Lanning, Goose Egg. Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman, well, obviously because they coached at Notre Dame for a long time and there's no conference, you can't get a conference championship there. Goose Egg. So, I mean, there's not a lot of coaches out there that would be considered for this list that have a ton of conference championships. So, like,
It's hard to do.
What have you won as far as titles go? There's your national championships and your conference championship lists. If you want to go by win percentage, you got Ryan Day has won 87.5% of his games. And the fact that before this national championship season, a lot of Buckeyes fans wanted him gone just shows you that there's something crazy in the water up there. Kirby Smart at 2 with 85%. Dan Lanning at 3 with 82%. Lincoln Riley and Kalen DeBoer are tied at 80%. Dabo Sweeney, 79.8%. Josh Heupel, 73%. Brian Kelly at 73%. A lot of people hating on Brian Kelly. Whenever I see this conversation kind of pop up on social media,
I like to.
They bag on Brian Kelly hard
like
because
to.
he's a jerk. He's a jerk. But the guy wins everywhere he goes. Is he winning at the absolute tippy top clip?
Right.
But no, I mean, there's only 4 guys who are winning 4 out of 5 games or better, and 5 technically, since Lincoln and Kalen are tied. But you got 5 guys who win 4 out of 5 games. Outside of that, that's it.
Texter from the 431 says, this is Philip Rollins. Philip says, guy at Notre Dame, talking about Marcus Freeman.
He only wins
definitely top 5.
70% of his games.
Yeah.
That's
look,
good.
When you talk about top 10,
Is it good enough for top 10?
I think Marcus Freeman is top 10.
Okay.
I do. I think he proved last year that he belongs in the top 10. Texter from the 803 says Beamer, number 6, caused number of wins in his first 4 years. Great development and good transfer picks. Texter, I will tell you this. Diesel can attest, I like Shane Beamer. And I know a lot of you know I've grown up a Clemson fan, but Shane Beamer is not top 6 right now.
What does it mean to put somebody at number 6 and just say he's the number 6 coach? You got to qualify that. Like, who are you putting him ahead of? Who are you putting him behind?
Well, my point is, to that text, there are probably 8, maybe 9, maybe 10 coaches that are maybe 11, right? That's debatable, that are better than Beamer. And again, I love Shane Beamer. I really do. I have arguments, Diesel, with friends of mine who are Gamecock fans that don't like Shane Beamer. I have arguments with them that he is the right guy. But you're talking about guys who are really, really good and deserve to be in the top 10. It is subjective, right? And to your point, there are a lot of factors that go into it. I think Kane or somebody brought it up on the stream. It's similar to the GOAT conversation we were having yesterday, right? That there are so many factors that go into it. So you have to look at a lot of different factors. But I also think like the eye test of just knowing that guy flat knows how to coach. I think that matters a lot for me as well. Even if they haven't won championships, like Sark hasn't done at Texas yet, I still think Sark's a top 5 coach.
I probably wouldn't have Sark in my top 7, but
Really?
he's sitting right there on the edge of it. You know, there's certainly some movement in the future. I mean, you have to look at where are they? Where have they done this? Kurt Signetti has a crazy high win percentage, but he's got a majority of that at the G5 level. Luke Fickell is pretty good. Marcus Freeman's pretty good. Brian Kelly, Josh Heupel. You know, when you look at win percentage, if you look at things like who's the best at bringing on elite talent, well, a lot of those guys, you know, as much movement as there are, this one's a little more difficult. I found this from On3 Sports. The number of five-star players signed in the CFP era, Cole. Alabama has 55, Georgia 49, Ohio State 33, Clemson 28, Texas 23, Texas A&M 23, LSU 19, Southern Cal 18, Michigan 14, Florida State 13, and Oregon 11. Now, that's a 10-year window right there. Not all these coaches have been at their universities for 10 years, so you can't give Brian Kelly credit for all of those 5 stars, all of those 19. But also the reason why Alabama's there is because of Nick Saban, and you can certainly move them down the list. So there's so many factors involved here, Cole. If I got to go 1 through 10, my 1 through 10 are Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney. This is where it gets hard. Dan Lanning. You know what? Maybe you convince me. Now that I actually start putting together a list. Sarkisian at 5. Kalen DeBoer at 6. Heupel at 7. No, I take that back. I put Brian Kelly at 7. Heupel at 8. Marcus Freeman at 9. And I don't know, at 10. IDK.
Yeah.
I certainly couldn't make the case for Lincoln Riley being a top 10 coach in college football today.
Here's mine. I've got mine. You ready? I've got mine. I had to do a little bit at the very bottom, though. The Heupel one, I had to think about. Here's my top 10 active coaches. I'm going to start at 10. I have Josh Heupel at 10.
Okay.
I have Kurt Signetti at 9. Brian Kelly at 8. Kalen DeBoer at 7, even though he should be like 7 on. I'm kidding. Dan Lanning at 6. Marcus Freeman at 5. Sark at 4. Dabo at 3. Ryan Day at 2. And Kirby at 1.
How are you going to put a guy that just lost to Northern Illinois in the top 5 coaches?
I think he's a heck of a coach. I think he's a heck of a coach. I do.
He also lost to Marshall, by the way.
I think he's a good coach. I'm high on Marcus Freeman. And I think I think I was not high enough on Marcus Freeman to begin with. And maybe he proved me wrong a little bit. But I don't know. This is tough.
It's kind of like looking down into, since you're a fisherman, I'm a fisherman. It's kind of like looking down into a pond with some with the right kind of sunglasses on. You can see down the first maybe foot, and that's easy because that's where 1, 2, 3 are.
Yeah.
But past that, it gets murky, man. It gets tough.
And again, look, JB brought it up, and somebody else did on the stream with Beamer. I love Beamer, but he's not top 10. He may not be top 15. Maybe I'll put a 10 through 20 together, just my opinion, but he's not there yet.
Cadillac and Philip Rollins. Where would you put Lane Kiffin?
Lane, for me, is probably 11 or 12.
Yeah, he's there on the edge.
Yeah.
But at some point, you gotta live up to the hype.
Yeah.
Right?
And again,
where's Lane Kiffin living up to the hype?
Right.
He failed it at Tennessee. He failed at Southern Cal. He did well for himself temporarily as the head coach at FAU.
Sure.
Even though he looked miserable in his promo videos and didn't want to be there. He comes to Ole Miss, and I think he's doing a great job building his resume. But at some point, you got to prove it on the field.
You do.
You know, and I guess that's where it gets extra murky once you get into that 9 through 15 range. That's the group of coaches that we all think can be really good, but haven't been really good yet.
I've added my 11 and 12. So I have Kirby, Ryan Day, Dabo, Sark at 4, Freeman at 5, Dan Lanning at 6, DeBoer at 7, Brian Kelly at 8, Kurt Signetti at 9, Josh Heupel at 10.
I think you got Signetti high.
Well, I think what he did in Indiana was so impressive. They weren't good in the playoffs. They were. I agree with Kurt. They were outmatched, but he turned that around quick. I have Lane Kiffin at 11 and James Franklin at 12. Lane at
I don't
11.
hate it. I don't hate
James
it.
at 12.
I don't hate it. It's hard to put James Franklin against ahead of any
know,
of those
it is.
guys
It is.
that you just listed off. Then again, James Franklin just got his team into the playoff. Lane Kiffin didn't.
I know.
So,
You're
like, wouldn't
right.
you- it would make sense
I
to flip
know.
him.
I know. I just, you know how I feel about James Franklin. He did make me eat some crow this year. He won 2 playoff games, right? So, congrats to him.
But all Lane Kiffin does is disappoint you.
He does. And I put so much faith in him every year. Like, this is going to be the year. You got Jackson Dart, right? They're going to prove us wrong, and they're going to go win it all. No. They choked
And the
way
most
too many
expensive roster like the money could buy at Ole Miss this year, and they still didn't make the playoffs.
They choked during the regular season 1 too many times, or maybe even 2 too many times. So I like it, though. That's my top 12, Tolos. What do you think about mine and Diesel's top 10, 12, 5, whatever it is? Let us know on the text line. Also, Diesel, in the very next segment, I don't know if you're a big Tour de France guy or not.
Absolutely love it.
You love it?
Cycling fanatic.
I am going to lead us on a tour de South Carolina in the very next segment. Sometimes we just need a refresher of everything that's going on, Tolos. Our goal is for you to be the smartest, the most knowledgeable at your workplace, at your house, at your home, with your friends and family. So we're going to do that. Take a tour de South Carolina in the very next break, or in the next segment, rather. And take a look at all sports happening in the state right now. And what did we leave off? That's next. Tolos, Tolo Thursday, and we appreciate you being right here in the show. We're going to do a little tour de South Carolina. Just a quick recap. We all need a refresher, Diesel, from time to time. Lord knows I do. Just to refresh our minds of what's happening, what's going on, what's your name? What's
Is
my
that
name?
your way of telling me I need a shower?
Did we
a whole body
did I shower
refresh.
today? I don't know. I sometimes I forget.
I don't know.
What we
Hang
had
on.
for lunch today.
No, you showered today.
Okay,
You're good.
That is that's
you're
good
good.
news. Tolos, let us know what we forgot, what we left out on this tour de South Carolina. Diesel, I'll start at the top with Clemson baseball, and then we can alternate as we go down. You can catch it with South Carolina, but just giving our Tolos an update of where we are. It's March the 6th, and I don't know if you know this or not, even though you may not watch as much sports now as you do during the fall, there's a lot going on right now, especially like transition to tournaments and
Yeah, and some
postseason and
some people just kind of come out of the woodworks when like they climb out from under their rocks.
Yeah.
When tournament time comes around, conference tournaments, they come out, who's wait, Clemson's good this year? North Carolina stinks? I didn't know anything about that. Okay, now let's pay attention.
And the reality is people get busy, right? People are busy with their
not
jobs.
a good excuse.
Not a good
No,
excuse.
I don't believe in that at all.
I will. While we're doing that, I'll get us some upbeat music too. I mean, what when you're watching the Tour de France, what kind of music's in the background for Tour de France as we take this tour to South Carolina? I don't know.
I don't even what even is French music?
Oh God, I don't know. I'd be
Like
bored with that.
saxophone music, jazz. I don't even know what French music sounds like.
Let's see if we can find something good here.
Oh,
You like that? It's not bad.
it's kind of like Chicago Bulls.
Oh my gosh, I wish.
that Chicago Bulls intro,
entrance.
kind of.
Oh yeah, it's not bad. I like it. That's
That's
the best entrance ever, by the way. Like it'll never be matched. Not bad.
Ooh.
First try. How about that? All right, a little tour de South Carolina. What's happening in the state sports-wise? This is a sports show. I don't know if you know that or not. Clemson baseball. They're 12-1 overall. They have yet to start conference play. The Tigers, coming off of 2 wins during the midweek, they host Davidson in a 3-game series this weekend. Eric Bakich has done a tremendous job, obviously, getting the sweep over South Carolina. Tigers were off to a hot start. They had a tough schedule early out in Arlington, Diesel, and you got to give a lot of credit to Eric Bakich and the start that they have had.
If you head down to Columbia to talk about the South Carolina Gamecocks team, they are having a little bit of struggles mid-season or mid-stretch so far with a series loss to the heated rival Clemson Tigers, but they are 11-3 overall. They bounced back in a big way last night with a win against the Citadel 9-1. Previously, they beat Davidson 7-3. Ethan Petrie looking pretty good so far. They just need some help on the pitching staff.
They're not. It's interesting with South Carolina because they're not playing consistent good teams yet. They
Right.
played Clemson.
Don't know who they are.
Midweeks.
Little unproven.
Little fooled, right? Last 2 nights. Look, you got the wins. 2 wins in a row. That's good. But SEC play will really, Diesel, tell us what this South Carolina team is made of. Next on the docket in the Tour de South Carolina, North Greenville baseball, 17-3 on the season. Landon Powell doing a fantastic job. Trailblazers are 6-3 in conference play. They host Emmanuel in a 3-game series this weekend. North Greenville every year with Landon Powell as a contender for not just the conference, but a national championship, and they're expected to do that again this year. We had Landon Powell on a couple of weeks ago maybe it was, and he told us, he said, hey, let's do it again. He loves coming on. He's the best, so we'll have Landon back on soon.
USC Upstate starting the season off 6-5. They have not gotten into conference play yet, but they're going to host number 19 Troy this weekend in Spartanburg. Really good team down there at Troy. Going to get a good sense of who this team is. Kane Sweeney is the head coach. They've gotten a win. It's fun, Cole. They actually started the season with a 10-7 win against Boston College. Canceled the second game of that series. They lost the second one 9-11. And then, Cole, they've kind of struggled against some of the better teams. Western Carolina, that's typically a pretty good mid-major baseball team. They split their series with Western Carolina. They took a 7-0 loss to Clemson just Tuesday night.
That's right. They just played this past Tuesday. So good point there. Kane Sweeney we had Kane Sweeney on, I think, right when he got hired, maybe last year, I believe, early in our tenure. Wofford over in Spartanburg, when it comes to baseball, they're 11-2 on the season. They have also yet to start conference play. The Terriers are in Lexington this weekend, taking on the number 23 Kentucky Wildcats. Oh, my goodness. J.J. Edwards has done a fantastic job in taking over for Todd Enterdonato, who is now at Boston College. You just mentioned Boston College was in Spartanburg playing upstate a couple of weeks ago. Some familiar ties there, obviously, with Todd spending so much time in Spartanburg at Wofford. But Terriers, Diesel won the SoCon tournament at Floor Field last year. They're poised to do it again when it comes to Wofford baseball. They're as good as it gets in the SoCon because they don't have their bitter rival to worry about.
That's true.
They don't play baseball.
Going to Conway, Coastal Carolina, rich tradition in baseball. They have started off hot as well. 10-3 on the season. They have wins over Kansas State, 2 of them, as a matter of fact. A win over Washington, a win over Ohio State and NC State, and 3 in a row from Rutgers. They lost to North Carolina. But they're playing some big-time competition, a lot of power competition to start the season for the Chanticleers, and they're doing well against it. 1-run loss to North Carolina. That game went into extra innings. They took a big loss to Alabama, but the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers have started the season off really strong, and that's a program that expects to win.
They're I would hate to be the coach that followed that coach because, to your point, they have expectations, and they're high. We even cover softball on this show. We try to be as local as possible, as broad as possible. Clemson softball, they're 17-6, off to a 17-6 start on the season. John Rittman doing a great job with Clemson. The Tigers host Duke in a 3-game series this weekend, and it's a good time for Clemson athletics right now, Diesel. Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider tweeted this out a couple of hours ago. Clemson softball's won 14 straight. Clemson baseball's won 10 straight. Clemson men's basketball's won 7 straight. Clemson's lacrosse has won 6 straight. And men's tennis has won 5 straight. On a heater are the Tigers. A lot of winning.
Speaking of heaters, the South Carolina Gamecocks softball team have started the season 19-0 under head coach Ashley Chastain. They're heading to Norman this weekend to play the number 2 Oklahoma Sooners on the road, and that is a tall task for anyone because there's a couple things they know in Oklahoma. They know steers and they know softball. Just real good at it.
They're good. But to your point, John Whittle was talking about it with us the other day from the Big Spur. South Carolina softball right now, oh my word. Pour some water on them. I mean, they're just on fire. North Greenville, locally, we cover them as well. They're 13-7 on the season. They're playing a 2-game series at Shorter this weekend in Rome, Georgia. Let's see, North Greenville, Sarah Hall doing a great job with the Trailblazers. They have also yet to begin conference play.
Talk about, man, we got winning softball all over the state of South Carolina. You said it, Clemson 17-6, South Carolina 19-0, NGU 13-7. The USC Upstate Spartans are 19-2 on the season. Head coach Chris Hawkins has got this team off to a really hot start. Upstate is in DeLand, Florida this weekend.
DeLand of Florida?
For the John B. Stetson Invitational.
DeLand? I don't know where DeLand, Florida is, do you?
No, I know where DeWater, Florida is, but I've never heard of DeLand.
DeLand, Florida. I gotta know. I've never heard of it. It is. Okay, it's dead in the. I don't want to say dead in the middle. It's near Daytona Beach.
Middle of nowhere is what you're trying to say.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
That's fair.
The middle of nowhere. Wofford softball, last one for the softball before we get to the hardwood. Wofford 14-6 on the season. Chelsea Butler, the head coach over in Spartanburg for Wofford softball. They'll host Gardner Webb on Tuesday. No games this weekend for the Terriers, but again, off to a good start this season are the Terrier softball ladies.
Yeah, as good as softball and baseball are in the state of South Carolina right now, basketball, a little up and down, depending on where you look. If you head to Pickens County, Clemson, 25-5 on the season, 17-2 in ACC play, yet they did lose to their bitter rivals, the South Carolina Gamecocks, and That's the reason why a lot of the pundits out there were kind of wary of the Tigers for a while. They're going to host Virginia Tech on Saturday in their final game of the regular season. ACC tournament play begins on Tuesday, March 11th in Charlotte.
South Carolina, you mentioned them, and I guess I have to mention them as well. 12 and 18, 2 and 15 currently in SEC play. Gamecocks in action one more time. A lot of Gamecock fans say, thank God, right? Only one more time.
I think
Saturday.
they're saying more like, do we have to?
Yeah, it's true. Saturday versus Tennessee. The men's SEC tournament begins on March 12th in Nashville. So we'll see, but obviously a tough season for the Gamecocks.
I had somebody ask me early today, Cole, how did South Carolina, that was so good last year, how did they fall off to the depths that they fell off to in SEC play this year? And I just kind of did that shrug emoji. Like, it's hard to say. It's hard to say how they can be so competitive on the road or so competitive at home but be awful on the road. And when you got the talent that they have, it's maybe not enough talent to go out there and win the conference, but it's certainly enough talent to be competitive in more games than not. USC Upstate finished their first season under head coach Marty Richter that you and I had the pleasure of bringing on the show a couple of times. Once from one of our Ingles shows, the second time from their event there in downtown Spartanburg. Unfortunately, things did not go well for Marty Richter in his first season. 6-26 there at USC Upstate. You hate to see it because he's a real nice guy.
He is.
He's a talented, young, up-and-coming coach put into a tough position.
Wofford finished the season in basketball 16 and 15, 10 and 8 in the Southern Conference. They will play ETSU on Saturday at 6 o'clock in Asheville. The work cut out for the Terriers Diesel.
Yeah, Wofford's surprising a lot of people this year, being better than a lot of people expected them to be. Yeah. And the opposite can be said for Furman, who, on the surface have a really strong overall record at 23-8, but 11-7 in conference play. They would just have up and down games. Great game, mediocre game. Great game, mediocre game. They'll play at Samford at 8:30 on Saturday. Not play at Samford, but we'll play Samford Saturday at 8:30. The big news with Furman, Cole, is they played their entire 2024-25 season at Bon Secours Wellness Arena as their home gym. Next year, Timmons Arena will reopen as a fully refurbished, remodeled, renovated arena, and I cannot wait to see it.
I can't wait. It should be awesome. Good luck to Furman. Good luck to Wofford. Furman fans may say, no, don't say that. Don't wish Wofford good luck on Saturday in Asheville, but both playing back-to-back. So if you want to see some good basketball Saturday, drive up to Asheville. Wofford, ETSU at 6, Furman, Samford, 8:30. 2 for the price of 1 there, Diesel. Should be good games. And then women's basketball-wise, 2 more for you. Under first-year head coach Sean Poppy, the Lady Tigers have done an excellent job just establishing a culture at Clemson because there was nothing really set in stone, no culture in place with women's basketball. 13-16 his first season, 6-12 in conference play. Clemson will play Louisville tonight at 6 p.m., the Lady Tigers, in Greensboro in the first round of the ACC tournament.
Well, Clemson trying to establish culture, South Carolina trying to maintain their chokehold on the sport. 27-3 for Dawn Staley and Lady Gamecocks. 15-1 in conference play. That one loss came to Texas. They lost to UConn in pretty tough fashion. Lost that game by, 25, 30 points.
Bad.
The Texas loss was close. The UCLA loss was close. All of these top 15 ranked teams. And we had Dawn Staley on the show yesterday as she was driving up this way to get to the SEC Women's Tournament. We have that audio posted for you over at thefanupstate.com and across all of our social medias.
And real quick, Tolos, as you're tuned in right now, I want to let you know that you need to turn it on and leave it on because the show's only going to get better. Adam Zagoria of zagsblog.com joins us at 4 o'clock. At 4:20, we go a little off sports and ask for your advice, Tolos. 5 o'clock today, Tolo Takeover. And at 5:20, Brian Pettit was already talking high school basketball state championships in the stream with a couple other Tolos. We'll talk to Lou Bazjak from the state newspaper again this week at 5:20 to talk about the state championships happening in Florence. 6 o'clock, Diesel. What would be the perfect draft for the Carolina Panthers? That's what we ask at 6.
I like it. When we come back, Cole, you and I will do something new that we've never had on the Fan Upstate before and on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. A new segment called No Lies Detected. Cole and I will have 3 sports takes each, and we will both determine.
We're wearing a, what do you call it?
No, we'll just have to count the sweat beads on each
Okay.
other's foreheads. The question is, are there, out of all those takes, are one, all, or none of them false? No lies detected. Coming your way next. Cole, with the remaining 7 minutes of the first hour of Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, I want to go somewhere new and play a little game. A game where you and I each have 3 sports takes, and then the other one, says that they believe one of them, all of them, or none of them to be false. And we call this game No Lies Detected.
Okay.
So here we go, Cole. I'm going to give you my 3 sports takes. I can give you a little explanation, and you tell me if you think I'm lying about any of these sports takes. Number 1, Clemson will be in the ACC through the 2036 Grant of Rights Agreement, meaning they will not be leaving until after 2036. That's actually leaving the conference, not announcing that they intend to leave, but leaving the conference through. They'll be there through 2036. Take number 2. One of either Auburn or Duke will be your national champion. And number 3, the Carolina Panthers will win one more game than in their 2024 campaign where they went 5-12, but no more than one more game. So 6-11 is the best they will do in 2025.
Now, I need to tell you just one that tell me again, of the 3, I just need to call out one that I don't agree with. Is that right?
You can call out as many of them as you want.
Okay.
You can say, if you believe that all of my statements are true, then you can say no lies detected.
Oh, I gotcha. Clemson in the ACC through 2036. That is 11 years. Is that right?
Yep.
I don't think Clemson will be in the ACC for 11 more years.
So you're detecting a lie.
I'm detecting a lie with number 1. Yeah, I just would be shocked, man. Look, we've seen in the past 5 years the landscape of college athletics change drastically, and I don't know that in the next 10 it's just going to stop. It's going to pause. I think we're going to continue to see more and more drastic changes to the sport of college football. I'll go lie detected with 1.
Okay.
One of Auburn or Duke will be your national champion. I think Duke's got a good shot, man. I think Duke's got a good shot.
The big knock on Duke is they haven't played a tough gauntlet of a schedule all season
Yeah.
long, but they are that much better than the schedule they've played.
I'm gonna have to side with that one.
Okay, no lie
On
detected.
number 2. Yeah, I'll detect a lie on the first one. No lie detected on the second one. On the third one, the Carolina Panthers will win one more game than 2024, but no more. So they won. How many did they win last year?
They won 5. So they'll be reaching 6 wins this year, but no better than 6 wins.
That one's tough. I don't detect the lie there. I wanted to, but
Oh.
I don't.
Come on, Bryce Young improved. Adam Thielen's a dude.
Adam
Xavier Legette
Thielen.
is potentially a dude.
But if you told me right now the Panthers win 6 games, I'd say, yeah, I could see that. I mean, I really could. I really could see
But
it.
not 7.
7's a lot. 7's a lot. I really do.
I mean, they improved 2 wins from 2023 to 2024. Bryce Young came on at the end of the season, looked like what we thought Bryce Young was supposed to be.
Okay. I don't know that. I would like to think I'm wrong there, right? All right, here's my 3.
So you're saying no lie detected?
No lie on 3.
No lie detected.
The only lie I detected was 1.
That Clemson will be in the ACC through 2036 Grant of Rights.
Yep, that's right. And then my 3, Diesel, 1, 2, 3. Number 1, Clemson football will win the national championship this upcoming season. Number 2, Lane Kiffin will never win a natty. Number 3, Shedeur Sanders will make it in the NFL. Do you detect any lies?
Ooh, okay, so let's go one by one here. Clemson will win the national championship in 2025, 2026. Does that mean 2025?
This upcoming season.
This upcoming
season, yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna be tough. I'm gonna go lie detected there.
Okay.
Because the talent as far as individual players is there to have another really good season and probably to make the college football playoff again. And that's by virtue of playing in a weak conference and having a spot in the playoff, no matter what, if you're the ACC champion and probably the runner-up in the ACC as well.
Okay.
But I think, Cole, once you get into tournament play, college football championship play, then you're going to have to go and put those extremely strong performances week in and week out. You're going to have to put those in, game after game. And I'm not sure they're going to be prepared for that kind of an onslaught with the talent and the depth. I think the talent with the ones is there.
Okay.
The depth is not necessarily there. And a lot of coaches all over college football are telling you the same thing right now. We got great ones. It's the twos we have a really hard time keeping
So you're
around.
going lie
I'm going to say lie detected there. Now, what could change my mind is how they play against LSU and at the end of the season bookending it with South Carolina. So that's going to be the deciding factor there. Lane Kiffin will never win a natty.
You like that one?
I
you like
love
that?
this question. I love this take. Lane Kiffin never winning a natty. First of all, he's got to get through the SEC.
Look, the reason I say that is I think there's too much showboating of Lane Kiffin and not enough substance of Lane Kiffin.
Great job explaining the take for me and why I believe that there is no lie detected. I think Lane gets a lot of hype. I think Lane is a quality coach. I don't know that he has the demeanor to handle the pressure of playing in the college football playoff. I think he's kind of a dude that would crack, All it would take is
proven it yet.
All
That's
it would
the
take
problem.
is somebody saying something he doesn't like the week of the game, and he's going to be all over Twitter, focusing on that rather than his team. So no lie detected.
Okay.
Shedeur Sanders will make it in the NFL, and by make it, I assume you mean something like a starter.
Yeah, 8 to 10 year career.
8 to 10 years. Oh.
I don't like the hesitation there.
His name alone will probably keep him in the NFL for 6.
Ooh.
Right?
That's a lot.
I'm not that impressed by what he did at Colorado. I'm really not. I'm going to say lie detected. Shedeur Sanders will not make it 10 years in the NFL. He doesn't have – I don't know that he's got the size that he really needs. He's got some of the physical attributes, but not all of the physical attributes. I'm not sure he necessarily has the mental attributes. So,
Can't wait
detected.
to find out. Cannot wait. We shall see, though. I don't know. Look, I think he will. I think he'll land somewhere where a coach will have to, I don't want to say accommodate him, but put the right pieces around him. So I'll give him a chance.
When we come back, Cole, one of the brightest and biggest, most famous minds in college basketball over the past 10 years or so, Adam Zagoria. You may know him from zagsblog.com. He has been writing and covering college basketball for the New York Times, for Forbes Sports, and others for a very, very long time. Very good at what he does, and Adam Zagoria going to join us next. when I told one of my most trusted friends in this radio business that we were bringing on Adam Zagoria of zagsblog.com on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, they texted back with exactly 3 words: high-level guest. Men want to be near him. Women want to be with him. He is a writer for New York Times Sports, Forbes Sports, and, of course, the aforementioned zagsblog.com. Adam Zagoria joins us here on Wire to Wire for the very first time. We appreciate you making some time to be with us today. How you doing, pal?
Thanks for having me, fellas. I appreciate that intro.
Absolutely. Adam Zagoria, zagsblog.com. You know, some people have been hearing zagsblog.com for a very, very long time. So your name is synonymous with covering basketball at a high level for a very, very long time. So let's bring it right here to us in the upstate of South Carolina. Brad Brownell had kind of an up and down career for the majority of his tenure at Clemson. The athletic director staff there had a lot of patience with him, and it's paid off, especially in the last 2 or 3 seasons. I don't know how much of it has to do with the NIL era, but Brad Brownell has certainly done a phenomenal job pulling, 2 or 3 pieces out of the transfer portal every year. To what do you attribute a guy like Brad, who was kind of seen as a high-level, high-quality coach for years and years and years, just didn't have the consistent success?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just proven, he's one of these guys that's one of the top coaches in the business. Maybe the everyday fan, casual fan doesn't know who he is, but people who, follow the sport and cover the sport certainly know who he is. And, now you get his name linked to places like Indiana and, big time jobs like that. I'm sure your fans don't really want to hear about that, but it's always a compliment, when the coach is mentioned for jobs like that.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up Indiana because obviously they're searching for a new coach, and as basketball fans like to throw around names and rumors, Adam, you hear Chris Beard come up. Is that in your mind a possibility at all whatsoever?
Chris Beard, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's, again, nobody disputes that Chris Beard is a great, guy's clearly a great coach. Obviously had some baggage. I don't think that's a secret, but he's moved on to the point now where he's, a step removed from the stop where he had the baggage. And a lot of times, it's kind of like Rick Pitino up here at St. John's, had some issues at Louisville, but then went to Greece, went to Iona, obviously proved he's still a great coach, and it was sort of safer for St. John's to hire him right after he'd already, been a step removed from Louisville at Iona. And it's kind of a similar thing with Chris Beard. With Indiana, it's like I had one of my colleagues say to me, maybe they shouldn't try to swing for the fences and hit a home run with, a Brad Stevens or a Dusty May. Maybe just hit a double off the fence and get Brad Brownell, kind of a safe, very smart hire. So, I don't know what direction they're going to go in, but I sort of like that analogy.
He is Adam Zagoria of zagsblog.com joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. The SEC has, for the longest time, been a pretty down conference in college basketball. It was Kentucky and everybody else. Well, that has certainly changed over the past couple of seasons. They are top to bottom, by far the best conference in college basketball. How sustainable is that? I mean, you don't necessarily have to go, on a 2-loss run or a 3-loss run to make the NCAA tournament in the SEC. But when you have this many elite level coaches in college basketball, do you believe that they can kind of maintain this number 1 spot when it comes to the conference pecking order for a long period of time, or does this cycle back out before too many years?
I don't see why they can't. I mean, I think a couple of years ago, the SEC, it's been written about, made a commitment to basketball, to men's basketball, after they've obviously been a football league for so long. They invested in resources, invested in facilities. Obviously, NIL at places like, Arkansas and Kentucky is through the roof, and they have some of the best coaches in the business there. And Rick Barnes and Bruce Pearl, and Cal is still in the league, and then you got newer guys like Mark Pope is doing a great job. Buzz. Now they probably are going to set a record here with 12 or 13 teams in the tournament. The Big East currently holds a record with 11 in 2011. And you got 3 or 4 legitimate teams in that league that could win the whole thing, right? Auburn, certainly Florida, which had a big win last night, Alabama. But, I think at the end of the day, it'll be a failure if this league does not win a championship, kind of similar to the Big Ten. I mean, the SEC has not won a championship since Kentucky in 2012. The Big Ten, it's now been 25 years. Bill Clinton was in the White House last time the Big Ten won a championship with Michigan State in 2000. So, both of these leagues are going to get 10, 12 teams in the tournament. But if they're not cutting down the nets in April, I think it'll be a failure for both of those leagues.
I want to ask you about the ACC. We touched on the SEC there, but with some news within the last 24 hours with a Duke assistant coach and Jai Lucas being named the head basketball coach at Miami. A very interesting hire by Miami AD Dan Radakovich, who most fans here in the upstate know is the former Clemson AD. What do you make of this hire? And when you talk about the ACC trying to get back to a place of dominance, do you think this could lead to a snowball effect there?
Yeah, I actually reported on that February 22nd, I'm going to say. So I want to say I was out ahead of that story a little bit a couple weeks ago. And it's a little bit of a weird deal, right? Because Jay Lucas is actually going to leave Duke after the regular season, which is Saturday when they play North Carolina, and take over at Miami. I think his press conference is Monday. So it's pretty unique that a guy leaves, one school that's got a chance to win the championship before the postseason, goes to his new school. But in this modern era, the portal opens, I think, March 24th. So they want to get him in place to, get working on the portal and stuff like that. I think there's a possibility that some peripheral Duke players who he recruited, maybe a couple of them transfer to Miami. I don't know. He's got good relationships. But, Jay Lucas is widely respected as an incredible recruiter. He helped get Cooper Flagg to Duke, the Boozer twins. He got Shaden Sharp to Kentucky. So I think they're kind of going in a 180 opposite direction from – sorry, I'm walking in the streets of New York City here, guys. From Jim Larinaga, who is in his 70s. Now they're hiring a 36-year-old young go-getter who's got great AAU recruiting ties, and they're trying to build the program, with a guy who's known for getting 5-star players. And it's not hard to recruit players to Miami, obviously. So it'll be interesting who he hires on his staff and who he brings in as his assistants there.
Adam Zagoria joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryce. And, a couple of weeks ago, it was made a pretty big deal out of the contract terms finally coming out about Hubert Davis's deal at North Carolina, his extension, and especially coming off the heels at the time, a season that looked pretty poor, like they were headed for maybe an NIT berth. Now they're looking at maybe the first 4 or the last 4 into the NCAA tournament. Big deal, little deal, no deal about all of the brouhaha with that contract information starting to come out.
I mean, I just think there's, it's obviously one of the biggest time programs in the history of college basketball. It's the bluest of blue bloods. There's a lot of pressure there. Let's not forget Hubert did get that team to the national championship game a couple years ago in his first year on the job. But I have a bunch of friends in Chapel Hill and in North Carolina, and, they haven't been real happy with how things have gone. This year's team, I don't think the roster construction was great. They don't really have a big man. They have a lot of sort of interchangeable guards and wings, and they're missing something in the front court. But, they got a big chance, obviously, Saturday against Duke. I don't expect them to beat Cooper Flagg and company, but, if they do, boy, that would be a huge way to end the regular season. And then Hubert has a chance to make a statement in the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament if they get into it.
Hey, Adam, you mentioned Duke there. I want to go back to a story that you did towards the end of last year. I would believe that our Tolos are going to be giving you a follow on Twitter, on X, at Adam Zagoria. And if they do, they'll see this story. And I'm sure most of them have not heard this, but I wanted you to expound on this a little bit. Your article was titled "Cooper Flagg Wasn't Born a Basketball Star. In fact, the nation's top prospect, who's now obviously playing at Duke, was lucky to have been born at all." A very touching article there that I really thought you did a fantastic job on. Can you go in a little bit deeper for those who haven't read that piece on exactly what happened in his life?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, Cooper's mom, Kelly Flagg, and his dad, Ralph, were very honest and kind of opened up to me when they visited a hospital in New Jersey a couple years ago. And long story short, Cooper Flagg is a twin. He has a twin brother, Ace, but his mom, Kelly Flagg, had a set of older twins before that, one of whom died a couple days after he was born. And the father, Ralph, Kelly went through some serious pregnancy complications with the pregnancy and the first set of twins. And Ralph Flagg, the father, did not want her to have any more children after that because he was worried about Kelly's health and, said no more kids. And she sort of had to, persuade him a couple of years later to agree to have more kids. And that turned out to be Cooper and Ace. And then they were born premature. So she had another sort of pregnancy complication with Cooper and Ace. But the main point is that, Cooper Flagg, who's now the number one player in the country and the number one pick in the draft, almost was not born because of what happened with his older brothers.
Wow.
Wow, that's a touching story, and I mean, honestly, I was in a situation. My mother had an issue with what would have been my older brother, and if I had an older brother born, I might not be here at all either. So I have there's kind of a soft spot in my heart for the situation that family went through. On your website or on your blog, of the last four in San Diego State, Indiana, Nebraska, and North Carolina, who do you think is in real danger of falling back below that cut line? And of your first four out, Xavier, Texas, Oklahoma, and I'm sorry, I've lost the fourth one. Who do you think would be it would be criminal to leave them out?
I think you're referring to that might be Joe Lunardi from ESPN who posted those. I might have just tweeted it.
Oh.
But I'd like to see. I think North Carolina. They're only, I think, what are they, 1-10 in quad one games or something like that. So, they don't have the greatest resume at all. But I think they probably deserve a spot. And obviously, we'll have to see what happens with them and Duke. It's interesting because you got a bunch of coaches like Mike Woodson's going to retire after the season, but could still coach in the tournament with Indiana. So that's always kind of wild, when you get guys who are on their way out but end up in the tournament and then maybe they have a run or something. So, it'll be interesting here with championship week. And up here in Big East country, we're going to have, we haven't talked about St. John's. I know you didn't ask about that, but it's a huge story here in the New York area with Rick Pitino winning the Big East regular season. He's going to be taking his sixth different team to the NCAA tournament, and he's won regular season title with 5 different leagues. So that's a huge, huge story up here in the New York area and nationally.
Adam, as we let you go, we always appreciate your time, but you said you're literally in New York City walking the streets right now. We had a very important, interesting debate a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to let you go with the answer here. Is New York-style pizza the superior style of pizza?
Oh, yeah. I go to my spot. Joe's right here on 14th and Broadway. Anytime you guys are in New York City, I'll take you there.
How about
14,
that?
love it.
Appreciate you, man. Fantastic stuff.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Adam Zagoria, zagsblog.com. We can make a quick trip up there, right?
I question, is he really walking the streets of New York City? Because I hadn't heard him cuss at anybody yet. And every time, I lived in New York City for 3 months, and I heard people cursing at each other constantly.
Hear any sirens?
I didn't hear any sirens. I didn't hear him hopscotching around a homeless person. None of that stuff. So I'm calling that into question.
No. No sirens, no yelling, no fighting, no protesting.
Maybe the
right?
city has changed since I
Yeah,
was there.
I don't
Maybe
know
it's
about
a
that.
maybe it's a touchy-feelier city than it used to be. I don't know.
I've only been twice. I love visiting. I could never live
Yeah.
there, but I do love visiting. I
Honestly,
really do.
it's kind of a depressing place to live.
Yeah.
Because you're surrounded by millions of people. You're always surrounded. There's somebody always within 20 feet of you. You can't help that. But it's also kind of very isolating and lonely at the same time.
Yeah, I could see that. I
If you
really
don't
could.
if you don't have a ton of money in your pocket, New York City is a tough city to live in.
So we'll see if we can make our way up there. I'm sure our bosses won't mind at all, right?
As long as they got good pizza, let's go.
To go up there for some good pizza. You know what? Real quick on that. There's one spot. I live in Bowling Springs. They're not a sponsor, so I'm not going to shout them out. There's one spot that's New York style pizza. It's a local place in Bowling Springs. And last Friday night, I was going to go get a pizza. 55-minute wait for their just regular pizza. 55. Would you wait 55 minutes for a New York style pizza?
No.
Okay.
Like 55 minutes if you ordered in store and you had to sit there
or go-
because they were
yeah.
that busy?
Yeah, I didn't call. I wasn't smart, man. I
Wow.
didn't call it in.
Well, you could
Actually,
have
I think
called it
was
in from
Saturday.
here. Okay.
I think it was Saturday. You know what? I think it might have been Saturday after the game, the game at Fluor Field. I should have called it in. I didn't. I showed up 55 minutes. Now, they have great pizza. T-Swizzle asked where it was. You can guess. There's only one New York-style pizza in Bowling Springs that's local, T-Swizzle, so you should be able to guess pretty easily. There's a million pizza places on Highway 9, but there's only one that I know of that's truly local, mom and pop.
Cole, I'm going to give you and all of the Tolos here a secret. Okay, this is something
Won't be
that
a secret anymore. by the
No,
way.
no, it's okay. Like I don't need. This is need to know information for everyone. Okay, this is so the perfect way. If you want your pizza the next day to taste as good as it did coming out of the restaurant,
You told me this, but I forgot.
most of the time it never tastes as good the second or the third day. What you do is you put your pizza on a cookie sheet, baking sheet, pan, whatever it is, put it in the oven.
Yeah.
Cold. Put
Yeah.
the pizza cold, oven cold. Turn your oven up to 425. Once it gets done preheating, bam, take your pizza out and eat.
I remember you told me, but I've forgotten exactly.
That's
exactly
the perfect way to
Yeah.
reheat pizza.
But
You got to reheat it because microwave pizza sucks.
well, it just makes it kind of like
Doughy.
yeah, just floppy,
Soft.
right?
It's no good.
Floppy pizza.
And New York pizza's already kind of floppy, so you need to take a little bit of the floppiness out.
And look, I love New York pizza, but I don't like the floppiness of it. I think most people in New York fold their pizza. Like, have you ever seen that?
You
They
got to fold it in half and do
Because
it.
it's
Kind of like
so-
make a taco out of it.
Yeah, it's just so floppy. I don't know. I like the thin. I like the thin, but I like it to be crispy. You know, I don't want. And here's my biggest problem with New York pizza. It's not. Sometimes it's not crispy enough. I want like super crispy
Style,
pizza.
man.
I know, but I think I have to
gotta
get a
use the right-
pizza, take
yeah.
it back home, and put it in the oven again.
You got to use the right kind of cheese. You got to use the right kind of dough. I mean, there's just the flavor is there. The flavor is there. That's how you do it. I'm just telling you, Tolos. If you have extra pizza, if you have leftover pizza, put it in the oven cold. Set your oven to 425.
There you go.
It doesn't work as well if you're using like a little toaster oven because they heat up faster.
Yeah.
But a big oven, set your oven to 425. Take it out when the oven is done preheating.
Tolos.
Promise.
Want to let you know that we have a loaded show still coming your way. We have some audio at 4:45. The segment's titled "People Are Starting to Wake Up." Diesel's going to love this. Tolos take over at 5 o'clock. Lou Bezjak of the State Newspaper to talk high school basketball state championships. 5:20 Daily Wires. 5:45, and then we'll continue the conversation in the final hour and get into a little Carolina Panthers draft. But coming up in the very next segment, let's go ahead and get the interaction started right now and carry it all the way through the break. Let's face it, Diesel. A lot of people are football fans. We live in the South. And then the spring comes around, they don't consume sports as much. So as I start to kind of transition that way as well, I'm guilty of doing the same thing. Still watch some sports, but late at night, I'll put my show on, right? Put my show on. I got to watch my show. I want to know from the Tolos, what are the 3 top shows that you're watching right now? I've watched 2 recently, and I'm on my 3rd. I usually go through these spells where I watch like 3 and then not watch some shows for a good period of time. So I want to know from you, Tolos, what are the top 3 shows that you're watching right now? The phone lines and text line, they're both open at 844-FAN. Phone, 844-326-3663. T-Swizzle, I've already finished that one. Fantastic. I'll bring that one up. And want to hear from you, Tolos, next. 844 fan phone. It is indeed 844-326-3663 is the number that you need to save in your phone as the fan upstate. The phone lines are open right now. Text line open as well. The conversation already starting on the text line. The stream, you Tolos have understood the assignment thus far. But Diesel, you know me, I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't know the last time I watched a movie. I do watch some shows, though, and I will go through like this spurt where I'll watch 2 to 4 shows, not watch shows for a while, and then get back into a fix of some shows, right? It's weird, but that's what I do. So I'm on 3 out of 3. There are like 6 seasons of the show that I'm watching now, so it'll be a while before I finish, but I might rotate. So my 3 were Landman was 1, and then we've already had several people on the text line talk about Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. Mm-hmm. It was unbelievably fantastic. Like, I loved Landman. I finished that, and I was upset because I thought, holy cow, that was really good. What am I going to do to follow up Landman? Well, then I watched Tulsa King that T. Swizzle brought up. And what did Tulsa King do? Tulsa King followed up Landman perfectly. Tulsa King was phenomenal.
Hadn't Tulsa King been around for years, though?
It may have been. But I'm on Paramount now, and there's such a better variety of Paramount than there is like Netflix. I think Paramount's way better. So it's on Paramount, and I just
Netflix
started watching.
Was King.
Yeah, and I think these other ones have just taken over. So that was my first and second. My third, I'm a very basic crime guy. I love crime. I love like any kind of crime shows. I've watched a lot of them. I loved SWAT. SWAT was a really good one I watched a couple of years ago. This one's old, FBI. It's like 3 or 4 years old. I love it. I love crime shows. So I'm watching that one right now. Pretty good storylines, right? It's a different storyline every 45 minutes. That's why I like it. But I'm rolling through it pretty quickly at night. I mean, Diesel sometimes can crank out, 2 to 4 episodes a night, right?
Really?
Just depending on how late I stay up. But I need to know from the Tolos what shows out there would, in my mind or in your mind, be good to follow up those with at 844 fan phone. T. Swizzle's already given Tulsa King. JB said, look, I just watched a lot of sitcoms from the 80s and 90s, a lot of reruns. So on the text line, I want to hear from you as well. Get it in. Start the text. The phone lines are open as well. Diesel, are you still on what's the popular one you were watching?
Yellowstone?
Yellowstone. Are you still on Yellowstone?
Yeah. So what my wife and I are doing right now is we're trading off seasons of Yellowstone and Game of Thrones because I never watched Game of Thrones. I refused to watch it for the longest time.
I tried it.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just okay. I don't get the whole like cultural significance of Game of Thrones because it was just average, right? I'm a huge like Lord of the Rings fan, and they ripped off a lot from that to make Game of Thrones, and then it's maybe it's silly, maybe it's not, but like when you have flowery names, and then you just throw in and name somebody Brandon. And I'm out. Like, you're losing me. It's the details. Like, you had all of this time to get all of this right. And you choose to name, somebody the Mountain. You're like, oh, that's cool. There's a guy named Oberyn. That's cool. And Ned. What? You just take me out of it. Even if the character is good. Even if that name is short for something else, which I know that it is.
Yeah.
Don't call him Ned on TV. We'll figure it out.
Are you a big sci-fi guy?
No, not a lot of sci-fi. I would rather watch space documentaries.
Okay. See,
like
I'm not big into
documentaries. I watch a lot of not documentaries, but in like explainer videos.
Okay.
Like there's a YouTube channel called Astrum that I watch all the time, and they explain like this star is this many light years away, and that kind of stuff. I love that kind of. It's fascinating. It freaks me out.
You learn.
It freaks me out because now I'm thinking this thing is how many light years away. That means space is gigantic. That means that we are like not even a grain of sand. We're a dust particle of sand on a grain of sand on a beach on an Earth in a solar. It's on a solar system. It messes with your brain. It really does to think just how tiny we are.
It really does. So, Tolos, continue the conversation at 844-FAN-PHONE. A lot of text coming in, but let's go to the phone lines where callers get a little bit of priority, a little fast pass. Billy Horn is up first. What's up, Billy?
How are we doing, fellas?
Wonderful.
So I have a question, Cole. Which FBI are you watching? There's 3 of them.
Oh.
You just blew his mind. He said, what? I got 2 more of these series to go?
There's 3, like, different ones?
Yeah, they're all on CBS, one right after another.
Okay, so
there's the regular FBI one where the guy and the girl are the cops and they work out of New York. Then there's one that's in Europe. That's the European FBI task force. And then you got the one that's the fugitive task force that comes on at 10 o'clock.
So the one I'm watching right now on Paramount Plus is I think the first one. It's in New York City just about every time. It's got Missy Pegram, is that right? Zico. Yeah, I think that's it. I love that. I didn't know there was more though.
So is this kind of like a Blue Bloods or like a Law and Order type of show?
Not really.
It's the FBI that's chasing down stuff.
It's more like
I really
federal.
like the fugitive task force one that comes on at 10 o'clock after it.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Is the one that I like better. I always get the guy mixed up. Mulroney,
Dylan McDermott and Dermot Mulroney.
Dylan McDermott is the guy that's on the one I watch.
Okay. I'll have to check that one out. Do you know if it's on Paramount as well, Billy?
It should be because it is a CBS show.
Right. I appreciate that, Billy Horn.
And for Diesel, if you like Yellowstone, you got to watch 1877.
I'm not really digging
original
Yellowstone.
prequel.
To me, it's the show that I'm forcing myself to get through to make my wife happy because she likes it.
I didn't like it either.
It's a little too melodramatic. It's a little too much family drama and not enough like cowboys and Indians out on the plains, you know?
Then you will like 1877. If you want cowboys and Indians out in the middle of the plains, watch 1877.
That's what I want. I love Dances with Wolves. There's another Kevin Costner thing. That's a movie from the 90s. Fantastic movie. And if you're telling me 1870 whatever is more like that, that's what I want to watch.
There you go. Thanks, Billy. You know what's interesting? I don't know if this is a bad thing or not. I don't watch shows or movies unless a lot of people are getting killed in them.
Really?
I love, it doesn't do, comedies don't do it for.
So tell me, did you ever watch, Mindhunter on Netflix? It's a cop show.
I feel like I have.
It's a crime show.
Yeah.
In that it's the early days of I think it was the FBI. Might have been it was the FBI.
Okay.
When they were trying to develop all of their processes for profiling serial killers.
Sure.
And there was this guy who worked for the CIA who you can't tell if he's on the level, but he goes and interviews all of these famous serial killers from the 70s.
Okay.
And this is the way the FBI started to develop how it makes profiles for serial killers, and then eventually slowed down and stopped a lot of serial killers.
I don't mind that kind of stuff, but a lot of the documentaries and a lot of the guys
it's not a documentary.
It's
a drama.
Okay.
It's a drama. The problem is that they cut it off right before it got really, really good.
Diesel, I've got to be.
It needed a third season so badly, and I'm still mad at Netflix for screwing that up.
I have a short attention span.
Yep.
The reason I love the crime, the FBI, FBI is not like Criminal Minds, where Criminal Minds is a lot of profiling, right? Serial killers. FBI is quick hitters. Like there's a bomb in New York City, we've got to find it. You know.
Oh, okay.
It's
yeah.
big, it's big federal.
It's serial in the sense that like something's always. It's not. A 10-episode story about one situation.
Nope,
it's
every episode's now
okay.
There are some
so you like those procedural like NYPD Blue kind of shows.
Yeah, I do. I love Blue Bloods. Loved Blue Bloods, man. Blue Blood, Tom Selleck. Oh my God.
Pretty much any network show loses me because you can't show the thing. Whatever the thing is, you can't show it. You know, the blood, the guts, and the gore. You can't.
Yeah.
If you can't show me that, I don't want to watch it.
I'm with you. It's just I like the different storylines. Now, there will be similar like relationships, storylines that continue if this person's dating them, whatever. But I like the different storyline. All right, let's peek at the text line. You have some stream as well?
Yeah, well, Kane says Dewey watches RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, my word.
Interesting. Now, if RuPaul and the drag queens actually got into like funny cars and drag raced, now that's an entertaining show.
Hurricane Jeff starts us off way down the list here and says, my top 3 shows are Landman with Billy Bob Thornton, Reacher, and have currently been streaming The Blacklist. See, I haven't seen Reacher or The Blacklist.
Reacher's fantastic.
Is it?
Oh, God, it's so good.
I'll make that, let me write that down.
Season 1, exceptional. Exceptional. Okay. Season 2, still pretty good. I wouldn't say it was quite as good, but it was still really good.
Texter from the 262 says, I watch older shows on replay, Parks and Rec, The Office, Psych. Can't go wrong with those. I never really got into those type of shows. Like The Office is funny, right? Diesel and I interviewed Kevin. Was it Kevin from The Office?
Yep.
Back in the spring of last year. Yeah, I don't mind them. It's just not my cup of tea.
Did you ever watch Jack Ryan, the show featuring John Krasinski from
I think I did a little bit. I didn't.
The Office?
I never got really into it, but I do think I did a little bit.
Season 1 really good.
Yeah.
Do you feel compelled if you liked like one season of a show? Do you feel compelled to watch all of them?
Oh yeah.
Like now you have to, even if it falls off in quality, you got to watch
That's the
all
way
of them.
I am. Well, I mean FBI. I mean I'm in season 3 of like 8. Now Landman, there was only the one season. So we're waiting on season 2. Tulsa King, T Swizzle, correct me if I'm wrong. I think there were 2. Yeah, there were 2 seasons. Have you watched Tulsa King yet?
I have not.
Diesel, let me just tell you. Let's just stop
Is
the
it
show.
is it a show that my wife would sit down and watch?
I don't
Or is
know
it
what your
purely
wife's-
a dude show?
I think it's a show she would watch. It has to do with the New York Mafia. Okay. And
I'm into that already.
God,
Yeah,
it's-
you got me.
And you know who the main character of Tulsa King is.
Yeah.
Sylvester.
So Sly.
Oh, baby. The best ever to do it. And he has, I think the cast is what makes the show. Like, it's a really good cast. It's funny. See, here's what I like. I like shows like Tulsa King that have a ton of action, but are also funny. Tulsa King's funny. Like, there's just funny people in it, right? And it breaks the monotony. I love it. I think Tulsa King right now is at the top of the list. It's hard to beat.
I am waiting for a couple of episodes to build up before I jump into it full force. But I have really high expectations, and Tolos, don't ruin it for me if you've already started watching it. But Daredevil Born Again, because Daredevil on Netflix was the best comic book superhero TV show ever made.
I had to look it up
was
just now. I
dark.
don't even know what
it
it was.
was gritty. It was violent. Vincent D'Onofrio was absolutely fantastic as Kingpin. I mean, that might be the best performance I've ever seen him in. And Vincent D'Onofrio is a fantastic actor. He's a great actor. But you got this guy who's this slimy underboss working his way up in and trying to take over New York City. In the public sphere, but behind the scenes, he's like taking dudes' heads off with a car door. It's dark, man.
I don't know.
Daredevil was great. They screwed it up in the She-Hulk TV show. I didn't watch that one, but I know that they did it. But Daredevil Born Again, it's like a return to form. Finally, what fans wanted out of the Daredevil series. It's going to be really good.
But it's comic related.
It is a comic book story.
I don't think I would like it. I don't think.
So the original Daredevil TV show on Netflix was based after the first Avengers movie. And here's all the chaos that would happen in a major city after something totally unexpected and wild, like aliens coming out of a portal in the sky happened.
What is this Linus I keep seeing all over the text line?
Oh, no, I've never heard of Linus.
I don't know. I've seen one from the 907. No, actually, it was 2 from
Lioness.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. I've seen it 2 or 3 times now. Chattelike says The Penguin is awesome. Excellent
great.
crime series. Haven't watched that.
It was
so I'll
great.
add that to my list.
See, that one is related to Batman, but there's no superheroes in it at all.
Okay.
They're just people, normal people.
Texter says Lioness again. FBI International. I think that was what Billy Horn was talking about. And Reacher. Texter says, found Will Trent. I don't know. There's no commas here. I don't know if this is one word or I have no. Found Will Trent Tracker Reacher Hunting Party. I don't know if that's two shows.
Reacher's the only one that I could. I'm guessing Found Will or Found Will Trent.
No commas.
Tracker.
I don't know.
Reacher Hunting Party. I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Punctuation is key.
Texter from the 468 says, if you have Netflix, Running Point was really good. Never heard of that. Okay, real quick before I forget, the series, there's 3 or 4 of them. Texters, Tolo's going to have to help me out here because I can't remember the name. The guy, London Has Fallen. That's one. There was 2 or 3 of those.
White House Down.
Do you like those? I love them.
I didn't watch any of those.
And I think it's the same actor.
But those are movies.
They're movies. But they're you're right. They're movies, but I loved them because action, president related. Now, one show that I will recommend, Night Agent. Write that down, Tolos. Night Agent. This guy, real quick. I know we got to run. I know our producer in the next room is fussing at me. We really don't have a producer, but Diesel, Night Agent. So the story is there's this guy who works in the White House, right? His job, he's in the basement of the White House. There's a phone that sits on the table. It never rings. But his job is to answer the phone if it rings. But I just told you it never rings, right? It never, ever, ever rings. However, obviously in the show, it rings. And it's a huge national emergency if the phone rings. And it is incredible. Night Agent. Right.
TV show or movie?
TV show. Sorry,
Okay.
Going back to shows. It's 1 or 2 series. Thomas at the 423 says Luke Cage. Seeing Breaking Bad are 3 great series to watch. Texter says Dexter, Original Sin, Will Trent, Reacher.
I've watched Breaking Bad through like 4 times, and I'm gonna watch it again.
And
because
there's 2
Breaking Bad
more
is so
text
great.
Diesel about Linus Paramount. Great show. It's about a young girl with no family. Texter says Night Agent's fantastic. It's really good. You need to watch that. So a lot of good stuff there from the Tolos. But Diesel, I want to tease you in this very next segment, and you're not gonna be happy because I'm not telling the truth. Yesterday I said I was never going to entertain the GOAT conversation again. However, I think people are starting to wake up, and when you hear this audio, I think you're going to believe me. That's next.
seen a player who has been this good for this long. That's his claim to the greatness. And by the way, I felt that 5 years ago. I felt that he had established that 5 years ago. And now, at age 40, 2022nd season, it's still true. It's never been more true. So here's the thing. Do you like the tallest mountain, like Mount Everest, or do you like the Canadian Rockies? Because that's really what you're talking about. If you're comparing him to Michael Jordan, has LeBron hit the height that Jordan hit? No. I don't think LeBron would argue that. But the breadth of the career, which is still being added to, is what his claim is. If you want to say that that's not what you care about, that you care about the height, that's cool. But that's what LeBron's put together.
How about a Brian Windhorst? Really good comparison with the mountains.
Didn't Brian Windhorst go to high school with LeBron and he's got his job and is basically his entire career because he grew up with LeBron James?
No.
Of course he's going to say nice things about him.
Well, here's I'm glad you brought that up because Stephen A. Smith, who I know it's a 50-50 split on people that like him and don't. I'm a fan of his. I watch First Take. And, yeah, I actually watch it because of Stephen A. Smith, not because of what you or the reason you think I watch it, Diesel. But I do know that Stephen A. Smith has always been an MJ guy and always will be. But my point is, just like I said yesterday to lead the show, I think a lot of these MJ guys, just as one texted in yesterday and said, look, Cole, I'm an MJ guy, but it's hard to dispute the numbers. I think the tide is starting to turn and people are starting to wake up.
I know, and we all know, I'm putting nobody ahead of Michael Jordan. Nobody. Okay? And I stand on
Come on,
it.
listen to this.
Because my definition of the GOAT is you at your best against anybody else at their best. What did it equal? But in listening to Brian Windhorst, bringing up this nugget, there's nobody who has been as good for as long, meaning longevity, a sustained level of pristine excellence. LeBron James is the GOAT in that category. Jordan at his best is the greatest that I've ever seen. But Jordan wasn't that good for that long. Not this period, this 22 years. I'll even go a step further. Knowing how I feel about Jordan, and I think anybody that knows basketball agrees with me, I actually think it's time to not even have the debate anymore because that's how great LeBron James has been.
Did Stephen A. listen to Wire to Wire yesterday? Because I believe I said it's time for the debate to stop, Diesel. People are starting to wake up.
Well,
old heads.
You got to give I'm not waking up. I'm still fast asleep on this debate, Cole. It's over for me. Now, there are certainly some factors that you can point to when it comes to LeBron's longevity, and it is phenomenal what LeBron James has done for as long as he's done it. You know, he should be out there scoring 10 points a night at 40 years old.
Limping around.
He should be just kind of hanging around on the wings, hitting a couple threes, giving the fans a thrill, and that kind of be where his game is right now. It's not. At 40 years old, he's still out there dropping 40 spots night in and night out. It's insane what he's doing. I give him a tremendous amount of credit for that.
You know,
the difference, though, Cole, or let me rephrase this, a difference, and I'm not saying that MJ would have been as good as LeBron in the early years of his career, because it did take MJ a couple of seasons to come on as a Chicago Bull and be just this insane player. But LeBron didn't play college ball. Back in MJ's days, he had to play college ball. He had 3 years playing college ball before he went off to the NBA. So, I mean, that part of that is what I'm saying contributes to LeBron's longevity. He had 3 extra years in the NBA at the beginning of his career that MJ couldn't have by rule. And the rules have been wishy-washy over the years on coming straight out of high school, one and dones. You got to play this number of seasons, that number of seasons. So I'll say LeBron hit the ground running in a way that most players don't, and that most players would get forgotten about if they don't come on in the first 3 or 4 years of their pro careers.
The only thing I'll say is, and as we run to a break, I just think that a lot of these guys who are always MJ guys until they die, I just think we're to the point now when we're watching LeBron do what he's done that a lot of them are sitting there saying, you know what, it's hard not to. It's hard not to. And I think the longer every single day that goes by that LeBron continues to put up these crazy numbers, these old heads, these MJ fans are going to have to just face the music here.
To use Brian and Windhorst mountain metaphor, Cole, imagine two mountains that are 10,000 feet tall. One of them is 10,000 feet tall. The base of it is really narrow, so it's a tall, skinny peak. The mountain right beside it is 9,999 feet tall, but the base of it is super wide. What's the more impressive mountain?
LeBron.
When we come back, Cole, on the other side of the break, it is your chance, not you, but the Tolo. Your chance collectively to take over these airwaves. Give us a call or text 844-FAN-PHONE. We'd prefer you to call 844-326-3663 and sound off like you got a pair. You got something to complain about, something to clap and parade about. We want to hear it. Call us up. That's coming up next. You know, Cole, it feels like in this country on social media, when people talk to each other on the street, there's just something bubbling under the surface.
bubbling.
And you know what? You got to let that stress out sometimes, right?
Yeah, you do.
Like even your radiator in your car has a cap that blows if it gets too hot so that the whole radiator doesn't blow up. This is kind of like a therapy session on the show that we do every single Thursday at 5 o'clock. It is your opportunity to blow your top on the radio for the entire upstate to hear. Whatever it is you want to talk about. Do you want to complain about something? Do you want to shout out something? Do you want to tell somebody great job? Do you want to call somebody who hosts or calls into this show earlier in the week an absolute idiot? Well, here is your chance. 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Tom in Somerville is the absolute GOAT at this segment, but right on his heels, kind of a 1A, 1B situation. This is legendary Tolo, and he will be enshrined in the Hall of Fame one day, I have no doubt, unless he does something that gets himself permanently banned. We go to the phone lines and bring in Rick in Greer, who leads off the Tolo takeover. Rick, what's on your mind today?
Well, I'm not going to gripe today.
Oh,
wow.
I just wanted to mention, you made a segment yesterday, and I tried to get in, and I couldn't get in.
Okay.
The easiest sports to tell about. Okay, do you remember that?
I do. Yeah, we do. We did it at 6 o'clock, and apologies for not getting in. We're on location. Sometimes it's tough to do.
Did anybody say bowling?
No, it didn't say bowling.
Well, that's the easiest one in the world. Let me tell you what.
Bowling scoring is still confusing.
It's boring, but it's easy.
Well, it's easy in that your job is to
explain
roll the ball down the lane and hit as many pins as you can. You get 2 rolls per frame and 10 frames per game.
What's your name?
But Rick, when you have to explain how scoring works in bowling, good luck, buddy, because you need like a slide rule, an algorithm, some special kind of calculator to do it because it is confusing.
Well, I think kind of to what we talked about yesterday, to Rick's point, surface level. You know, we talked about NASCAR, golf, surface level is pretty easy to explain, right? Bowling, surface level, you take a ball, you roll the ball down the lane, and the ball hits the pins. Rick, I'm with you. That might be the easiest one to explain.
Okay, and that segment's into my next thing. If you really want to go see people that love to bowl, the World Midget Bowling Championships are in Columbia this weekend, and go down and watch them.
World Midgets?
Bowling Championships are in Columbia.
Do you know, Rick, that a buddy of mine, and this sounds like something you'd be a part of, I don't know why, but a buddy of mine who lives in Tuscaloosa sent me a video last weekend, Diesel, of midget wrestling. Yeah. He said he took his son, midget wrestling, said it was the best thing they ever watched. And I don't know why, but it just reminds me of Rick.
Well, let me tell you, they used to have midget bowling over at the place next to Harley Davidson, but they had to quit that. What it was the midgets would squat up, and you would push the midgets down and hit the pins. It was hilarious. They don't have it no more. I don't know what happened.
Hey, Rick, when it comes to midget wrestling or midget bowling, is it a normal-sized bowling lane, or do they have to shrink it down to make it relative size?
They shrink it down, and the balls look like a cannonball.
Oh, so it's kind of like duck pin bowling.
Craziest thing ever.
Oh.
You know, that's interesting because the only time Diesel and I have ever bowled together, I did use bumpers. Remember that?
He did. He did. And he needed the bumpers.
I really did.
He wouldn't have come close. Thank you for the phone
Thanks,
call.
Rick.
By the way, Rick, are you doing play-by-play of midget bowling?
No, they wouldn't let me sell hot dogs there, so
okay.
I'm not going to do the. I'm
No
not going to do the. But let me. One thing, I did get permission to put a hot dog stand on 85.
Oh my God!
So at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you can buy hot dogs. That will start next week.
Here's how you do it, Rick. You need to have somebody. You need to get a phone number and have people text the word hot dog to that phone number. And tell them what mile marker they're on and what car they're driving.
You'd have to have a helicopter.
And then you have somebody running along the highway, handing off the hot dogs into their car, or probably walking because it's not going very fast.
A little moped, maybe.
They just hand it into an open window.
I'm gonna have a number so you can go ahead and pre-do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Leave it out.
one for plain, 2 for chili dog, 3 for slaw and onions.
Thanks,
I like
Rick.
it. Thanks, Rick.
I want to let you know, Tolos, before we get to Dewey and then Michael, to Diesel's point, you know what? If you, Diesel, every day go home and the Tolos go home and they complain to their wife or whoever they live with, their kids, and all you're ever told is all you do is complain. Well, if you use the Tolo takeover as that opportunity, you won't complain when you get home. So we're actually making your home life better.
Saving marriages.
We're saving marriages.
Look at us.
Dewey, speaking of saving marriages, you're up, Dewey.
Yes. I'm not married because I've been divorced 3 times. But anyways,
3 women would marry you?
He didn't say it to a woman.
well, they divorced me the next day.
Touche. That's fair.
What's on your mind, Dewey?
Anyways, I'm sick and tired. Well, I got a couple of complaints, but I'm sick and tired of going to fast food and getting cold fries and the wrong drink. And when I say I don't want a pickle on my hamburger, they put pickles on it. Next time I'm going to take the pickles and I'm going to take them and I'm going to throw them at them. And cold fries. That's McDonald's, Burger King. It's everywhere. I'm tired of it.
You got to start going to little nicer establishments, Dewey.
I can't afford it. Inflation's really hurt.
And all that
my
alimony you're
partner-
paying for your 3 ex-wives.
That's true. True, yeah.
We have a sponsor.
got it
There's a guy
right.
that an attorney for helping out dudes with 3 ex-wives.
But if Rick's going to sell hot dogs on the side of the road on 85, they better be hot. They're not called. They're called hot dogs, not
that's a good
cold
point.
dogs.
Fair point. Fair point,
Why,
Dewey.
what's your name?
What was your 3rd complaint?
And this has been bothering me for a while. Y'all, especially y'all, you and Diesel, Cole, whatever your names are, y'all are not allowed to have any more days off. I'm sick and tired of turning on the radio at 3 p.m. and listening to that travesty of a national show.
What if we had
I don't
days
know what it
off?
is.
What if we had days
Well,
off, Dewey?
I think President's Day or some made-up holiday.
Okay, you're right. We did have.
yeah,
we've
we
had
did.
1 day off. Diesel took 1 day of vacation earlier for a ski
I took a
trip.
sick day,
And
yeah.
other than that, I have not taken a day this year, Dewey. So I'm trying my best to be here with you. But I'm with you on that. No days off, right?
No, Rob Brown, he can take all the days off he wants. Lonzo can run the show. But y'all, because I say Lonzo because Lonzo's a good man, and the national show that replaces Rob Brown sucks. So I actually rather listen to Rob Brown than Maggie Poo-Poo, whatever her name is, and that other guy, because he sucks too.
Thanks, Dewey.
Y'all are not allowed to have days off no more.
Okay.
You know what? I'm going to take
I'll let you
tomorrow
get
off, Dewey,
suspended.
just because you said that.
It's the
Oh,
best.
my God.
No more days off, says
No
Dewey.
more days off.
No days off. Let's go to Michael, who is now in the Tolo takeover. Sorry about that. Those were big shoes to fill, Michael.
It's all good, man. It's always a good listen when Dewey comes on. And, yeah, I mean, I guess no days off for y'all. I mean, hey, I like Rob, so I'm not going to jump on that train.
There you
but,
go.
hey, I just want to start this off by saying, you know, it's that time of year with basketball to where we start hearing this, oh, it's hard to beat the team 3 times or, you know, whatever. So I wanted to hear first how y'all felt about that before I go into my rant.
Phil about what, beating a team 3
statement?
times?
Yeah, like there's that whole sentiment of like, oh, it's hard to beat a team 3 times.
So, for example, let's take, Furman on Saturday
That
plays.
is exactly what I'm talking
Okay.
about. Okay, we're on the same page.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I will say to give your question an answer, I think it's hard to beat a team once and then having to beat them again twice. Look, once you play a team 1 time, they know you better than they did before, and then to be able to beat them 3 times, now you're allowing odds to come into play. I do think it's hard to beat a team 3
Well,
times.
and they got film on you. You know, this is not like the old days of college basketball where you'd have the same players sticking around on teams for 4 years. It's a little more likely and a little more common in
Mid-majors.
mid-major basketball than it is in big schools. But look, you've played them twice. They've got film on you from playing you twice, and now you have now you can start to analyze tendencies. What do they do in this set? What do they do when they're up by 10 points? What do they do if we're up by 10 points? And so you get a lot more information. So that honestly puts the onus on the team that has won twice to come up with new ways to go out and beat this team, to make sure you're not doing the same things each time to keep them guessing.
Are we wrong, Michael?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't really think you're necessarily wrong. I would disagree if it wasn't such a weird team with Samford that full court presses the entire game, fishes for steals. They overcommit on everything to where they can be down by 20 and win the game by 10. It's such a strange, streaky team that Furman has done different things each time to beat them. I'm really excited to see what Bob Ritchie does on Saturday. If he's got another rabbit to pull out of the hat, whether it's putting Garrett Heen at the 5 on that 1-3-1 zone or they were fishing for lobs with Cooper Bowser. So, I mean, I'm seeing the sentiment that it could be a cakewalk. I'm also seeing that it could be a beatdown for Furman. So I really wanted to know what y'all think. And
Yeah.
Quick little shout out.
I'll say this.
A rivalry.
Michael, to your point, they are streaky. I went to a game where I saw them in Spartanburg against Wofford. They looked awful in the first half, incredible in the second half. I think it was Trey Fort, who is maybe the Arkansas or Mississippi State transfer or something like that. He went off for 36. He's really good. But they are streaky. I will say, to Furman's point, though, to your point about Bob Ritchie, if there's a team that has to beat Samford 3 times, I think Bob Ritchie can do it. And by the way, Bob Ritchie will be on with us tomorrow at 4:30. Michael.
I'll be here listening, man. That's awesome. And speaking of Wofford, one last thing. I am so happy to see how that regular season ended with P.J. Smith step back 3 neutering the Terriers at the end of the season. So, I mean, I couldn't be happier about that.
It was a great win.
Thank you
great
for the phone
win.
call,
Thanks, Michael. Really
Great
good
phone call. Came with a lot of good information. Let's go to the phone lines one more time and bring on Tom. I hesitate to call Tom the star of the show because I don't want him to get a big head.
No, Tom's not the star of the show.
Not
he
the
lives
star of the show.
He's in Somerville. You can't be the star of the show in Somerville, can you?
Hey, guys. I've had a long week. I'm ready for this weekend. About the only positive I've had this week was Paul and the boys winning 2 baseball games. I think they're starting to heat up. And Morehead State comes to town this weekend, and they better watch out because Paul and the boys are heating up. And also, I got to say this, back to Dewey's point. You know, y'all do work a lot, and this is the hardest time of the year for sports talk radio before March. But the other day, I was driving early in the morning, and I was listening to a national sports talk show, and of all people, Mark Ryan was on the national radio show at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it got me so fired up. I was so frustrated that I had to listen to Mark Ryan for 4.5 hours that I quickly just wanted to pull off the side of the road and not listen to sports talk the rest of the week. And then come today, I said, I got to give Cole and Diesel a call because I hadn't been able to listen much this week. But, man, Mark Ryan, I listened to him Monday morning, and it put me in a bad mood the rest of the week.
God.
What did he say that put you in a bad mood?
Well, he was just rambling on about, I don't even know what. It was something about the NFL. And every time he's on the radio, it makes me think of all those times he took a shot at the Gamecocks. Well, you know what, Mark? You got kicked out of this state, so you go enjoy your 5 a.m. radio show because the Gamecocks still run this state, and you ticked off so many Carolina fans. You're not welcome back, Mark Ryan, and I hope you hear this.
Let me ask this. What can we do, Tom, to make your week better?
You know what would make my week better is if we could just move the calendar forward to 2 weeks from now, when it's the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, and if you could give me a sick note so I don't have to go to work and I don't have to do any chores for the wife, and then I can just sit on the couch, watch basketball, gamble some money, eat a bunch of steak, eat a bunch of crab legs, and have no responsibility for 4 days straight. If we could just move the calendar forward, that would make me happy.
Well, hate to tell you, Diesel and I, we're not that good, Tom, in Somerville. But
No.
very soon, young Padawan, we will be there, okay?
Tom,
We will be
you want a sick note, but you're also going to need a doctor's note for all those fatty acids that you're eating right there. Your blood pressure and your heart rate is going to be through the roof.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with steak and crab legs. That is good protein to put in your body.
Yeah, and you can't hide money either, Tom. I mean, we know what Tom in Somerville. I mean, if you got it, you got it. And Tom in Somerville, he's got it.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Texter from the 772 Diesel says, currently on 85, and I'm going 10 miles per hour. Texter, you and everybody else. Everybody else.
It's almost like I keep saying we need a loop in this city. We need a way to get around this crap. Come on. Let's put it down there somewhere around exit number 35 or 40 when there's nothing down there, and we'll have it loop all the way up.
But you know
to
what, though?
exit number 75.
These idiots out here
and
will
you can
still
stay off of it.
These idiots out here will still get on there, and it'll be just as bad.
But think about how nice would it be, Cole, if you could just like hop on a loop right there around exit 75. It's where you live up there in Boiling Springs. Maybe if you had to come just a little bit farther south, exit 65, the Welford area, that kind of place. You jump on that, and then you loop down to like 385. You don't have to get on 85 at all.
Yeah.
And you just take it right here to the radio station.
In Fantasyland, it sounds great, but it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I hate it, Tolos. I'm sorry you're sitting on 85 going 10 miles an hour. So I guess that's the you know what's frustrating, Diesel? I, earlier in the week, had a really good Tolo takeover. Had something really good to rant about.
Oh, man.
And I forgot it. I didn't write it down.
Stinks.
I do it all the time. I sometimes make notes in my phone, and I need to start doing a better job. But I had a good one. I mean, I was upset about something. And
We just got a text. You got to be real careful with how you read the text that just came in. It's from Rick and Greer. Okay. Rick and Greer says,
What?
I can get Tom off.
Or is it a texter saying I can get Tom off Rick? Wait, what?
He's
Wait,
Rick says he can get Tom off.
I don't understand. I understand what that.
Yeah.
But
no. See, Rick was responsible for getting who was it? The Tolo that was delivering pizzas on Super Bowl Sunday. He got Sam off work. So Rick's saying he can get Tom off work too.
Yeah, wording could be a little better there, Rick.
Punctuation matters.
A little comma after all.
Phrasing.
Well, no, I don't know that a comma would
Phrasing
help.
matters. It does.
Well, just put a word. I can get Tom off
Work.
of work. Yeah.
Yeah, I can get Tom off of work. But, we all know Rick and Greer, he's silly. He's not stupid, okay? Rick knew exactly what he was typing when he typed it.
Rick, I was disappointed yesterday. We were over in Greenville at Ingalls on Poinsett Highway. And I know you live out toward, I can't remember exactly where, but I thought we might get a guest appearance from Rick and Greer yesterday. I know it wasn't near Greer, but I thought we would.
Cole, we're running long in this break, but I'm going to get to mine. Maybe it'll shake yours loose for you. Last Sunday, I am with my wife. We're driving up to Mars Hill, North Carolina to do some snowboarding. And to do that, you got to go right through Asheville. And Asheville, I-77 through Asheville, that spaghetti junction to get through Asheville, friggin' sucks.
It does.
But I got to rant, Cole, on the drivers that get up behind you when you're driving in the left lane and speeding, by the way. You got two lanes, you got the cars in the right-hand lane, they're doing 2 under the speed limit, whatever, and everybody in the left lane is doing a solid 5, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour over the speed limit in the left lane. Everybody's just easing on by. When you got that person, that jackass who runs right up behind you, when nobody can go anywhere, he wants to speed like 25 over the speed limit. I only want to speed 10 over the speed limit, and he's on my ass like I'm getting in his way. No, dude, you're wanting to do speeding plus speeding.
That's
It is
me.
you wind in and out of traffic. It's not my job to get out of the way for you. It's not my job to speed more for you. It is your job. If you want to do 30 miles an hour over the speed limit, you weave in and out of traffic, okay? I don't have to get out of your way.
See, I'm guilty here because I like to use the left lane, and I like to.
You're like Sammy Hagar. You can't drive 55.
No, not unless
It's just
you're
a
parked.
song. It's
Not
a
unless you're
song.
parked.
Yeah, you can't get your car out of second gear.
You know what's funny? I will say this before we got to run, but I will say I was driving to Columbia Sunday in the station vehicle diesel that has the fan on it and 98.9 WORD, and I had a guy. I passed him. He was in the left lane. I passed him from the left, went over to the middle, and then got back in the left, right? Because he was slowing down the left lane. So I passed him, and I don't know if he didn't like me passing him or didn't like the fan upstate or was a Democrat and didn't like 98.9. I don't know what his problem was. He took his phone out and started videoing me and got up right beside me, giving me the bird, yelling, screaming, just going ballistic. And, I never looked at him. I never acknowledged him. You never acknowledge them because you're feeding right into what they want. That happened. So I'm with you. I do like the left lane a little too much, but you got to go. If you're going to get in the left lane, you got to go. Put the pedal down. Diesel, we are joined by Lou Bezjak of the State newspaper in the very next segment. Lou joined us last week. He'll join us again this week. High school basketball state championships. A lot of local teams are involved, and we'll hear the latest from Lou next. number 3 of the show, of the conversation right here on The Fan Upstate. He's Diesel, I'm Cole Price, and happy Thursday to you Tolos out there. And we talked to Lou Bezjak last week of the state newspaper to talk upper state and lower state, as both were going on in Florence. And fast forward a week, it's time for state championship weekend in Florence, as some upper state and lower state championships just getting finished up. And we bring in Lou Bezjak of the state newspaper. Lou, how are you, man?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. Good to go local and talk about some upstate teams that are playing in state championships this weekend. But before we get into basketball, the biggest news of the day that broke earlier around 1 o'clock or so was Jeff Fruster, the head coach of the Daniel Lions in the upstate, the football team. Probably, arguably, one of the best 4A jobs, if not one of the best jobs in totality in the entire state of South Carolina. Your reaction to the news of Jeff Fruster stepping down from Daniel High School earlier today?
Yeah, definitely surprised. Had no idea that was going to happen. I saw that report that was out there, and then I think the school put out a statement. And yeah, he's had great success there, winning state championships, and really the whole program has been pretty stable. They don't go through many coaching changes, and then just definitely caught me off guard. And plus the timing. I mean, it's March now. Usually don't have too many coaching changes this time of year. Usually everything's trying to be wrapped up by March and getting into April before spring practice. So definitely it will be interesting to see which way they go. Sometimes when there's a coaching change this late, and they maybe have someone in mind, maybe promoting someone from within, but it'd be interesting to see what Daniel does and where they go, because it's going to be a very high demand job. I mean, it's a great program, great teams, facilities, everything, a good school. So yeah, it's definitely one of those top tier jobs to have.
Lou, can you go into some of the hot performances that you've seen so far in the boys bracket? You know, have we had some big-time major standout stars?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at T.J. Lewis from Blythewood. He really stood out. I mean, he kind of brought Blythewood back to beat Dorman last week at 21 points at the game-tying three-pointer, and then hit the game-winning free throw with 2 seconds left. I think he has been one to stand out. I think I'm trying to think. Broderick Anderson, I think, had a huge game for Keenan last week, and then now they'll go against Powdersville tonight. Those are a couple that stood out. I know Powdersville, I was really impressed. I like the way they shoot and the way they played in general. I thought it was a really good game. And same with then in the 2A, you look at High Point, like Sanders, and they're very talented. High Point, they got about 3 or 4 guys that can really score and do a lot of different things. Same with Atlantic Collegiate. That's why I think the 2A matchup could be one of the best games of the weekend on Saturday.
Hey, Lou, last night, Greenville-Greenwood. I mean, a fantastic game, and the basketball was held a lot longer than the basketball is supposed to be held in the final moments of a game. Obviously, there's no shot clock in high school basketball. Greenwood advances past Greenville in the upper state championship. By the way, Greenville and Greenwood separated by 40 miles or so, playing in Florence in front of, I don't know, a couple of hundred fans. Still, blows my mind. But Greenville-Greenwood, good game. Your thoughts on Greenwood, who will now in 5A face Berkeley?
Yeah, Berkeley, that should be a great matchup. But yeah, Greenwood, they held the ball. They held the ball most of the overtime, I know, at least 2 or 3 minutes. And that's one of my things. I mean, the shot clock, I wish they could implement it full time. I mean, they did it for non-region and showcase games. I think the next step maybe that some of the topper classifications maybe do it before the lower classifications do it. I think it definitely needs to be needed, especially for in-game, end-of-game things. It really makes a better flow instead of you're holding the ball for 2 or 3 minutes. That's one of my things that I'm not a big fan of, and I know there's opinions on it, obviously, with the cost and having people to run it. But you're at the state championship, I mean, especially for the playoffs, and there's no reason why 5A and 4A teams can't do it, at least even 3A. And then I could see if 1A and 2A, it might be a money thing, but just kind of phase them in. That's kind of what Georgia did a few years ago. Now everyone's doing it across the state.
Lou, the last time we had you on, we were talking about, these games being held, or at least the upper state games being held in Florence. And now that's kind of a hardship for a lot of the fan bases in the upstate to try to make their way down there, out there, however you want to, picture it on a map. Can you tell us, did any one of these fan bases travel particularly well and kind of show out and show how strong their fan base is in a difficult circumstance to get down there?
Yeah, I thought Walhalla really brought a lot I think they were one of the farthest ones, and they brought a lot last Friday to their game. I'm trying to think the other one. Greenville was an okay crowd, even though they had both teams. Some of the, trying to think. Dorman brought a decent crowd. The Dorman-Blythewood game had a pretty good, but that was also on a Saturday, too. That might have helped them as well. Some of the maybe Monday and Tuesday games weren't as good. Berkeley brought a ton yesterday, but obviously a little bit closer. And Monday's crowds were just fantastic. It was you had Wilson, which is located right here in Florence, and then you had North Augusta, which had both teams, and it was pretty good. And even today's game, first game today, Lee Central brought a ton, and Military Magnet for Class A schools. It's that bottom area behind their benches are pretty full, and I think you're going to have good crowds for the championship games. I think tonight, Powdersville will bring a lot more than they did being as a state championship game and playing Keenan. I think they'll bring a lot more. And then tomorrow night, I think you got Ridgeview and Blythewood separated by 8 miles, and they're playing here in Florence. But I think both fan bases will bring a lot. It'll be interesting to see. I think Greenville they're having a chance to play for a state championship on Saturday. I think it's going to be a pretty good crowd for them, and as well as Goose Creek for that final game Saturday night.
And Lou, I know we briefly touched on this last week in terms of you being a fan of the one sites. And again, one site, in a lot of ways it's good. But do you think when the high school league sees the crowd for Greenville, Greenwood, who are separated by less than 50 miles on a Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, and you've got 50 people in the stands. Do you think the high school league sees that and thinks, maybe we can do something a little bit different going forward?
Yeah, I think it definitely will be discussed in the next couple of weeks, and I think the upstate coaches are going to maybe have something to talk about and present at the meeting in Charleston in a few weeks, and we'll see and go from there. I know it's everyone's had their opinion on it. Like I said, I did talk to some coaches. They liked having the fact that they were playing in the same site for the semifinals and finals. That way you don't get you don't have to get used to anything. You've been there before, and that's definitely a plus, but obviously the travel and that. So I think you'll see. I don't know what's going to come, but definitely there's going to be discussions brought up and see where we're going. It's a year-to-year basis with sites. Same with North Carolina. North Carolina's doing the same. They're hosting their semifinals and finals in Winston-Salem in the same site, all their classes. Just over a shorter period, but next year I think it will expand because they're going to 6 classifications, I think, instead of just 4. So they're going to have between semifinals and finals a lot of games, just like South Carolina.
Lou, how heavily are state tournaments like this attended by the universities in the state? I feel like you could probably get a pretty good sense of the best players in the state when they're all playing right there in one spot. And I imagine that there's been quite a few scouts on the lookout, maybe even some offers made.
Yeah, you got some schools that it's kind of hard. A lot of teams are playing. I remember last year, I know when Joyce Edwards was here, Don Staley made the trip down and saw her. It was a different weekend, like championship week. South Carolina women, they're going to be playing in SEC tournament the same weekend as championships. So that'll be a little bit harder, but I'm sure what kind of period, the dead period. I know there's been like Division II schools and like junior colleges here definitely looking, and also you could watch too online as well. So I think between those two, you get a good feel, especially now's the time in the spring where you're going to see the kids leaving the transfer portal with the portal, and like D2 schools definitely come in on some of the guys that might have missed. Same with D1s. Like we mentioned, TJ Lewis, he's the guy. USC Upstate just offered him last week. I think he's a guy that could be kind of a sleeper. He's put up big numbers all year. Just hasn't had the big offers yet, but I think once things will shake out with portal and other things, I think you're going to see his recruiting pick up in these final weeks before that April signing day.
Lou, I want to ask you about the shot clock. I'll go back to that in just a second. But Greenville from the upstate and the boys' side, they are playing Goose Creek. Powdersville advanced, they're playing Keenan. And then High Point, you mentioned High Point, they're playing Atlantic Collegiate. Of the upstate teams that are down in Florence playing for a state championship, which, in your mind, will be making the trip back up to the upstate with a gold medal?
It's good. I would say High Point would be probably my top, although that game's going to be pretty good. They're both athletic, both long. If Powdersville can hit their shots, Keenan's shown the ability not to hit their outside shots. They don't have a really good outside shooting game. They're mainly defense, and their size might bother Powdersville a little bit. But I would say High Point and Greenville, I think, top two, and then Powdersville also have a shot. But I think High Point would be my top choice.
And then going back to the shot clock, we brought it up a minute ago. I agree with you. I think high school basketball desperately needs a shot clock. But this question is going to be a tough one, and I'm excited to hear your answer. In the mind of Lou Bezjak, who covers a lot of basketball, especially at the high school level, does the better team always win with no shot clock?
Yeah, most of the time, but you've seen teams being able to work their time and work time off the clock, and being able to their late game situation really work that, having no shot clock and run the clock and make things harder for a team. So yeah, that's why you get the upset, and that's why some of the people that don't want a shot clock, they think you're not going to have as many upsets, which I don't think that's the case. I think shot clock will help. Like I said, during the first, second quarter, maybe not, but like third quarter game situations, fourth quarter with a 4 or 5 point game, I think you could see big differences, and you might see even better finishes than we're already getting in games, playoff games and state championship games.
He is Lou Bezjak at Lou at the State. We invite all of our Tolos to go find him on Twitter, on X, and give him a follow. Let him know that you heard him right here on the Fan Upstate. Just does a fantastic job covering high school sports for us, and we appreciate your time every single time you join us on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Lou.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
You too. Diesel, I'll say this. I don't know if I'm qualified. I don't know if I'll ever be qualified, but maybe, just maybe, I'm going to do what a billionaire did when it comes to, not to get political here, but when it comes to running for presidency. I think the high school league's in such bad shape. I don't know if it would take me quitting this job, closing my little small business that I have and getting into an AD, athletic department role, assistant AD, or whatever it may be. But I do feel the calling that the high school league needs fixed. So I'm asking the question today on this Thursday evening, what do I have to do to get into the right career path to go take the job of Jerome Singleton? Because the high school league is run like a joke right now, and I want to fix it. There's so many better people that could do a better job, and I don't know if that made sense. It might not have. It might have been broken English, but playing these games in Florence is dumb. Not having a shot clock is dumb. I asked Lou that question because the better team doesn't always win. Last night, Greenwood, they held the ball for like 2 minutes at a time. That's not basketball.
No, that's bad ball.
That's not basketball.
It shocks me that there is no shot clock.
It's ridiculous.
In high school.
Money, that's what they
say. Is it the state? Is it just this state? Because I seem to recall having a shot clock when I played high school ball in North Carolina.
North Carolina is a basketball state. You know, they do things the right way. They're basketball born and bred. Other states do. There are still some that do not. Lane Fowler, the head boys basketball coach at Burns, who does color with me for Burns football, Diesel, he has been a big proponent and advocate and been the voice of the upstate and the state in terms of trying to get a shot clock. He's still trying. It needs to happen. I don't care if you disagree. It's dumb. It's not basketball. In basketball, you don't hold the ball for 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, this sounds like the way my mom describes how she used to play basketball when she was in like elementary and middle school.
Right.
Back when defensive players would stay back and it would be 3-on-5 on the offensive side of the court. It doesn't make any sense, but the two defenders would stay back, and it didn't make any sense.
And then Greenwood last night. I retweeted the picture from someone on my Twitter page, Diesel of the Crowd. On a Wednesday night, Greenville and Greenwood are getting on a bus to go to Florence, 3 hours away, to play in an upper state championship game. That's dumb. It makes no sense. I know you have one venue, but guess what? You know what leaders are put in power to do? Problem solve. Problem solve. If that's the only venue that you know of, problem solve. Figure out a way to do something better, Jerome. Figure out a way around it because you're doing a terrible job right now. You're doing a terrible job.
It almost feels like, Cole, there needs to be, and this would be incredibly expensive, that's why it doesn't happen, that there needs to be dedicated high school basketball facilities located around the state, because you can't put it on South Carolina or Clemson or USC Upstate or Furman or Wofford or College of Charleston to give up their arena towards the end of their seasons. I get it. They are using their facilities. So what do you do there, especially when you don't have a professional court like Charlotte has in downtown Charlotte with Spectrum Center?
Sure.
You don't have that additional resource available. So they got to figure out, all right, how much capacity do we actually need, and can we afford to build 2 facilities in the state of South Carolina, one for upper state, one for lower state, and then you then get to rent that building out. You can host events there over the course of the season. Great, do it. But also rent that facility out to other groups that need it. But you have your own dedicated facility, and all it takes is 2 of them, one in the upper state, one in the lower state, and you're good to go.
My whole thing is there's too many colleges in this state not to have an excuse. There's too many colleges. There's so many colleges in this state. Also, Diesel, when it comes to upper state and lower state, instead of Greenville and Greenwood driving to Florence for upper state, play it at one of the gyms. Whatever, home team.
Yeah.
Play it at their gym. It makes no state championship.
Got a facility sitting unused.
Yeah, if you want to play the state championship in Florence, that's fine. Whatever.
Even if you want to make a rule that you can't play at your home facility, but you can play in one that's in your half of the state. So let's just say Dorman's in this thing, and you can't. So Dorman cannot host a game at Dorman because that's an unfair advantage. But Dorman could host a game at Burns.
They did a few years ago.
Yeah,
they did.
That way you have the facility, you have it in your own region.
Yep.
You play it at some other school that's even in your own conference, so that you have something that's relatively close. There are ways around this thing, Cole. I just wonder what it would take to get you the unilateral power to make yourself dictator of high school sports in the state of South Carolina.
I want to go take Jerome's job. And I know everybody out there probably thinks I'm not qualified, but guess what? I think I'm more qualified than he is. And I'm sorry. I know I probably shouldn't say that on the radio, but I'm going to say it. I care so much about high school sports. I want them to be ran the right way, and it's just it's a travesty. It's a travesty. So I need to figure out. And again, he'll never retire. He'll stay there forever. So it'll probably never happen. But I care too much about it. Somebody else should be making the decisions. It's just too many dumb decisions that are made and not enough effort put towards the right ones. But
in the common saying, Cole, the question is, do you want that smoke? Think about the myriad of, nobody ever calls Jerome Singleton when they're happy about something. They would only call him or call you when they're upset about something. And they say, hey, you need to fix it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. We'll just give you all the power.
I'll take it. I really will.
When we come back, Cole, it's time for you and I to whip around the sports world, see what else is happening out there in a segment we call Our Daily Wires. Coming your way next on the Fan Upstates. Appreciate our time there with Lou Bezjak. Gonna have to go a little lightning round on our Daily Wires. This is the buzz happening around the sports world. Both Clemson and South Carolina baseball put one more in the win column last night. South Carolina beat the Citadel 9-1. Clemson had no problem with PC 11-2, the final score there. Vandy defeated number 18 Tennessee yesterday in the SEC women's tournament. Vanderbilt will advance to play South Carolina tomorrow at noon. The LA Chargers released outside linebacker Joey Bosa last night, cutting ties with their longest tenured player and one of the best in franchise history. The move saves them $25.36 million in cap space. Any idea, Cole, on where Joey Bosa might be headed, or is he just kind of shopping around right now?
Well, I think it's an interesting move that they released him and they're not trading him, because now I think he does, like, everybody talks about how bad it is to get released, but I think he does have a couple of options now. He'll be picked up by someone.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not what he once was, but he's still a valued commodity in that sense.
Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott took a big-time pay cut. They restructured not a pay cut, but they restructured his contract, which created $36.6 million in cap space. They converted $45.75 million of Prescott's base salary into a signing bonus. Man, could you imagine just getting a check for $45.75 million?
Well, I guess they were listening. Jerry Jones was listening to the
Talked
show
about it
yesterday because you said, when are they going to restructure Dak? They just restructured CeeDee Lamb, freed up $20 million in cap space, and bam, if they weren't listening to you, Diesel, right here on the Fan Upstate.
That's selective listening.
Being selectively aggressive.
Yes, selective aggressiveness. Thank you, Jerry. The Cleveland Browns have restructured Deshaun Watson's massive contract to create $35.8 million in cap space. Deshaun, still recovering from a ruptured Achilles tendon, may not play at all in 2025.
Oh, that tendon, man, it'll get you. It'll
It's the best
get you.
grift ever.
Yeah.
You get paid all this money, guaranteed contract, don't have to play. Cole, there is speculation that Aaron Rodgers could be a target for the Raiders, but only if he fits with Chip Kelly's new system. You like Aaron Rodgers in Vegas?
No, I don't like Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. It's time to hang it up. You talked about this earlier with LeBron. Like, when you know it's time, you start declining, you hang it up. We're past that time, Aaron. You're on the decline. It is time. He's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. I get it, but it's time to hang it up.
Denver Broncos outside linebackers coach Michael Wilholt was fired yesterday, a week after he was arrested for allegedly punching a police officer at the Denver International Airport. Quote, after thorough discussions as an organization, I met with Michael Wilholt and informed him we have decided to part ways, said head coach Sean Payton in a prepared statement. Quote, we recognize the serious nature of the allegations against him and believe this is the best course of action at this time. I appreciate Michael's contributions to the Broncos and am confident he will move forward in a positive direction. Yeah, you can't punch cops.
No, it's a little bit frowned upon. And you know what I mean? Just imagine having a job in the NFL. What kids dream of doing, Diesel. I mean, there are not many of those jobs to go around, and you get a chance in the NFL and you punch a cop. In the airport. Yeah, not good.
You could have punched a lot of different people and probably gotten away with it, but you punch a cop. And finally, Cole, Oregon head coach Dan Lanning has received a big old fat new contract with a $2 million per season raise. He will be making now just south of $11 million per year.
Just south. That makes it sound minimal, right? Like it's
$10.99 million. You know, just south.
Just south. JB on the YouTube stream says Singleton, going back to the conversation with Lou Bezjak, JB says Singleton needs to be gone as head of the high school league. I don't understand why high school sports in South Carolina aren't managed like Texas and Florida. Let's make Cole the head of the high school league. Cole is really more qualified than Mr. Singleton. We need to know how to make that happen. I did not pay JB to say that. I did not. I didn't pay him off.
If you become president of the high school league, will you hire me? You be the idea man, I'll be the muscle?
Yep, I need some muscle. I need some muscle. It can't be any worse than it is now. Tolos coming up in the very next segment. We take a look at perfection. Well, we can at least dream of it, because when the Carolina Panthers draft in April, they'll need some perfection. We'll see what the perfect NFL draft in April would look like for the Carolina Panthers. That's next. Well, Tolos, you have one more hour to get in on the conversation. How do I get in on the conversation? Well, I'm glad you asked. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. Did I say it slow enough that time, Diesel? Sometimes I say it way too fast. And Tolos have told me you got to slow down when you give that number out. But I slowed down that time. So, Tolos, interact in this very last hour as we're going to dive in to a little NFL draft when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, Diesel. The Carolina Panthers have some decisions to make, and you and I have talked about this leading up to the draft, and we will continue to do so in the next month and a half. But I saw something earlier that I completely agree with, and we know that the Carolina Panthers defensively have some major holes, right? They have some areas that they have to get better. I saw a statement, and I believe this was from a Carolina Panther fan that posted this in a conversation going back and forth earlier today, where this Panther fan, Diesel, said that the Carolina Panthers can't afford to draft a wide receiver at number 8 in the 2025 NFL draft.
Okay.
Again, not afford, pay enough money for whoever they pick at 8. They can't afford to take a receiver at number 8 because I believe, and I want to hear from you and the Tolos as well, there are so many more glaring deficiencies that even though you need a receiver, even though Adam Thielen's not like the future of the franchise, I don't think with the 8th pick you can risk taking a receiver because there's a lot of risk involved with a receiver.
Well, there is. There's just the downside that they don't work out, but also the risk is your defense continues to suffer, and the Carolina Panthers defense was bad last year. They need help on the defensive side of the ball. Look, they've gone offense the last 2 years. They made it a big deal to go get Bryce Young. They got the quarterback. They think they've got the quarterback going forward. I mean, he did improve a lot over the last 5 or 6 games of the season. Then you went out and got him. Xavier Legette out of South Carolina to be his second wide receiver. Eventually, hopefully, your number 1 wide receiver. I don't know that Xavier Legette is a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. I think he could be an outstanding number 2 wide receiver. So I think the fact that they've given so much attention to the offense with their highest draft picks over the past couple of years, you got to go defense and balance this thing out. Because at that point also, at what point does Ejiro Evero say, look, they're not giving me any help at all. I'm going to have my agent start shopping my resume around so that I can go somewhere that actually does value defense.
What did Dan Morgan say in Indianapolis last week? Panther fans, if you want to know, Dan Morgan said, knowing Coach Canales and knowing the program that he came from under Pete Carroll in Seattle, it's a developmental program. And Dave looks at it like that. So in terms of us, whether it's getting something in free agency or getting something in the draft, I don't think Canales really cares. He wants to develop players. He takes it as a challenge, and he's not scared to play young guys. That's what you love about the first 5 picks last year. We do like young guys. I mean, it's not going to sway us one way or another, but it's nice to have young guys that can grow and develop, especially on a team that's building a locker room, building a culture, and building a team. So it's nice to have some of those young guys, but you also have to mix in some of these veterans too, just to kind of show the young guys. That came from Dan Morgan. So it does sound like, Diesel, which if you're a Panther fan, this is what you would hope. It sounds like Dan Morgan and Dave Tepper are giving Dave Canales the time, right? Because here's where I'm going with this. If Dave Canales felt like he was pressured for his job, if he felt like his job were in question, right? Dave Canales might have the approach of, hey, we've got to get some vets in here. We've got to get some guys who can win now because I've got to stack some wins. However, I will say, I know this is not what Panther fans want to hear, but if you are a Carolina Panther fan, this is what you want. You want your owner and you want your GM to give the coach time. Now, I'm not talking 8, 10, 15 years, Diesel, but you've got to have time to develop these guys and build a culture and get Carolina back on winning ways, back on track, just to get some wins under the belt and develop a culture. Because let's be real here, when Canales took the job, there was no culture in place. So I do think that Dan Morgan and as much as we hate to say it, I think Dan Morgan and the owner, Dave Tepper, deserve some credit here.
Yeah, patience is key here. And Dave Tepper has certainly gotten a very harsh lesson in what not having patience does to your team, the way that it can set you back by going through multiple coaches in quick succession and not giving them time to develop players. We don't know if Frank Reich would have been able to pull this thing out of the depths, if we would have been able to turn this thing around. We'll never know that.
Yeah.
So going the way that he did, choosing the coach that he did, he knows he's going to need some time. Or, you have that embarrassment continue to stack up of I'm the guy who won't spend the money to go hire the guy that I know can fix things immediately. And I'm also the guy that nobody's going to want to come in and work for because they know I'm going to fire them within a year and a half. So it's good to see that some semblance of patience is working its way in, because that's always been one of our biggest knocks on Dave Tepper.
Buckeye Mike, text the show what you can do at 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Buckeye Mike says, Egbuka is your guy. Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. As you can imagine, Buckeye Mike, a big Ohio State guy. He's phenomenal, Buckeye Mike. There's no doubt about that. But I just think that Dan Morgan, Diesel, and Dave Canales, I think they're going youth for a number of reasons. But I'll tell you the main reason I think they're going youth is I think they see the contracts that they have on the book this year and next year. For example, the Panthers have 19 unrestricted free agents remaining after signing or re-signing quarterback Andy Dalton and J.J. Jansen, the long snapper. That kind of turnover was part of the plan. Of those 19 free agents, Diesel, 11 of them arrived on one-year deals last offseason. So along with the directors of player personnel and everyone in the building, it sounds like they're on the same page where they've emphasized flexibility, anticipating a large group of free agents will eventually probably walk, right? Not all of them, but they're avoiding excessive future liabilities with contracts and dead money charges for players that are no longer on the roster. So I know these are things that Panther fans can't see. These things aren't translating immediately to wins. However, they're doing the right things because the Panthers have 53 players under contract at the moment. Just 21 of those are under contract through 2026. Think about that. 53 players under contract. Just 21 are under contract through 2026 and beyond.
Yeah.
So that screams, Diesel, this thing, even though the fans want to win now, that screams to me that this is a long-term plan to get this franchise back on track.
Yeah, and in those situations, you have to draft well. You have to draft guys that work out, guys that can be solid starters for you for a couple of years. You can take advantage of the first and second round guys off of their inexpensive rookie contracts. And then after that, Cole, you can sort of fill in the gaps with some of those 1 year rental players, but that means next year's draft you have to hit again.
Yeah.
And the following year's draft you have to hit again, because you can't afford to miss and be a super thin team with really only about 40 guys on your team that are worth a damn.
But you know what I think they've seen? I think they're seeing, like, let's go back in time a couple of years to when the Rams won the Super Bowl, right? We all remember that. It works. Diesel, what was the old saying? F those picks, right? From Sean McVay. It works. They won the Super Bowl. However, look at what Philadelphia is doing. Philadelphia has maintained success. They've been to 2 Super Bowls, 1-2 in the last, 6 years, one with Nick Foles, obviously this past season, with draft picks. Now, they have a very unique blend of free agents as well. There's no denying that.
They also have Saquon.
That's what I'm saying. Saquon was a freaking amazing free agent. But look at Kansas City. You've got guys that have gotten you to the Super Bowl multiple times that were drafted.
Yeah.
I think that, look, I'm telling you, man, I'm not a Panther fan, but I think these guys know what they're doing. I think they know what they're doing. It's going to take time. We talked about it earlier. You said, what, 6 wins? Would 6 wins suffice? Because they won 5 last year, I believe. Is that right? Or they win
That's
6
right.
last year?
They won 5 last year.
They won 5. So, look, I know everybody wants to go from 5 to 10, right? But you got to crawl before you can walk, right? And I think that's exactly where this franchise is.
I'm excited to see where they go, Cole. So let's kind of go round by round. And first round, maybe it's fairly easy to pick a guy, to pick an individual player. After that, sort of all bets are off. You don't know who's going to be available for you in each round of the draft. If you're Dan Morgan and you're starting to sort of put together an outline. Remember writing papers when you were in high school? You had to put together an outline first.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you would go in and fill in the details. So the Carolina Panthers have the 8th pick overall, 8th pick in the first round. Where would you go? Like, this is the place. Ooh. If you were in that room, this is the position group. This is the player that I'm arguing for. We have to go get this position, and I would love to go get this player.
If Jalen Walker's there, I think there have been too many pundits who have been way too high on Jalen Walker. And I mean that in a good way. Like, if he's there, Diesel, out of Georgia, I think you got to get him. There's a chance he may not be. Jalen Walker's really, really good. Like, really good. And he's going to be a hot commodity within the first 10 picks of the NFL draft. Hopefully not first 5, but within the first 10 for sure. Because he's that dude. He's that good. Look, if he's not there, the good thing is Georgia, what they do every year is they say, hey, here's a cooler fool, right? Here's a plethora of defensive ends, of edge rushers. Michael Williams, who a lot of people project to go to New Orleans, is also a fantastic pick.
Michael Williams had 21 tackles last year, 15 solos, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. The dude is a freak of nature. So if your number one choice in Jalen Walker isn't there, you're not losing much by going Michael Williams. And when you look at what other teams in front of the Carolina Panthers need, Cole, there's a pretty decent chance that Jalen Walker is still there. So, but again, if you can't get Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, great second choice.
He's a great second choice. Look, we talked about this a couple of days ago. Diesel, I don't think look, I'm not saying there's not good receivers out there, because there are good receivers. I don't think there's game-changing receivers out there like a CeeDee Lamb or anybody like that you look at and think, oh, I've got to go get this guy. We have the conversation all the time, Diesel, about do you go for when you have your 8th pick, when the Carolina Panthers are on the clock, do you go for the best player available or do you address your biggest need? I think the Panthers are in a good spot because I think the level of all of the players combined in this draft in the first round, I think the level of players are somewhat comparable, Diesel, for the first time in a long time, meaning, to me, there's not one guy that stands out. There's not 2 guys. There's not I don't want to say, Patrick Mahomes wasn't picked where he should have been, but there's not a guy that you just see and say, oh, this is no-brainer. A CeeDee Lamb, for example, if he's there, we got to go get him. I think there's a really good shot that the Panthers, to your point, if they don't get Jalen Walker, there's still a lot of good options. I just worry that they do something dumb and they don't need to trade.
Don't trade out.
Don't trade.
Don't trade. You know
Stay
what?
where you are.
You know what I am interested in this draft, and in all of the mocks that I've seen, it doesn't appear like too many of these people putting together mocks, and anybody can put one together. They don't seem like they're expecting any kind of a run on a position group. Like in some years, you'll just see 4 wide receivers or 5 wide receivers come off the board in the first round.
Sure.
They're not expecting that. They're not expecting a run on defensive ends. And everybody needs good edge rushers when you're a bad football team. You need great guys out there on the edge. But there's only like 2 or 3 edge rushers expected to go in the first round. Same with the quarterbacks. Once you get past Shadur, Cam, and Jackson Dart, there's not going to be a big run on quarterbacks where everybody's going to try to move up to take somebody. So, we're seeing kind of a mix of everything. Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan, he's expected to go in the top 6. Offensive lineman Will Campbell from LSU, he's expected to go 7. And then, you got a couple just guys kind of sprinkled around in there. What I do like to see, Cole, is there is a G5 player expected to go 11th. That would be Mike
Marshall,
Green,
right?
edge rusher from Marshall,
Yeah.
who, again, pretending for a moment that there is a run on defensive ends or edge rushers. Mike Green is still there as a backup, too, just a couple of picks back.
Yeah, I think he – I hate to say this because this might come across as disrespectful. I think he would be a major disappointment to Panther fans, right? Because they want that big brand.
Want the sexy name.
They do. They want – they're at the point, Diesel, where they can't afford – let's just call it like it is here. Panther fans can't afford to bank on Marshall players right now. And that's no disrespect, but
that's true.
They've got to make sure that they get their guy. Jalen Walker would be great.
And if you can't get either one of those guys, now we're talking here. If Jalen Walker and Michael are both off the board there, where do you go with that 8th pick? Pretending for a moment that neither of those guys are available.
There's some stud linemen in this draft, offensive linemen. I mean, there are some stud offensive linemen.
They took a lot of sacks last year, too. That's still a problem. Still a problem in Carolina, so having a stud offensive lineman could really help.
I think that's probably where you'd go. Now, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but have you seen since the post-combine that NFL has Shedeur going 1, Cam Ward going 2, and Jackson Dart going 3 to the Giants?
Whoa, what?
I said Jackson Dart going 3. They're banking on. The New York Giants are banking on getting a quarterback from Ole Miss. The last one they got from Ole Miss worked out pretty well, right?
As if that has anything to do with it. Come on.
It's not smart, but I'm just telling you. The NFL Combine goes about.
That's like drafting based off their Madden stats.
But how many times? What's so fascinating is how many times have we seen this mock draft change? It's changed yet again.
Yeah.
And that's my whole point. Does anybody really know? Abdul Carter was once mocked 9th, 10th. Then you and I had the conversation back last year. Oh, maybe the Carolina Panthers will be able to get Abdul. Then, fast forward a few months, Abdul Carter, we're told that he's the number 1 overall pick.
And then he's got a stress injury in his foot, and he's starting to slide down the board just a little bit.
Well, let's park the truck for a minute. If somehow, some way, the stress fracture in his foot, Diesel, could benefit the Carolina Panthers, and in fairy tale land he fell to 8th, I mean, we're talking no-brainer. There's your no-brainer, right? I don't think that'll happen. I think if he doesn't go top 3, I hate to say it, but 5, 6, he's gone.
He's gone.
There's just no way. In my mind, I could see him falling that low. Now, if that injury was something serious, Diesel, like, I don't know, a knee, there's a big difference.
Sure.
You remember a couple of years ago, linebacker out of Notre Dame, I can't remember his name right now, but he tore his ACL, and he was really, really good, played for my Cowboys, Diesel, and then he tore it again in the NFL, and his career is now over. So if it was a knee injury, it would be a concern. Fracture, foot, ankle.
Jalen Smith?
Jalen Smith, yep. He had a knee injury. Jalen Smith was projected to go really early in the draft. His knee injury in Notre Dame scared a lot of people off, fell to the Cowboys. The Cowboys got him. He was really good, had another knee injury, and the rest was kind of history. So we'll see. I'm excited for the Panthers because I think if somehow, some way you could walk away with Jalen Walker as your number 1, man, that'd be an instant. You're talking about a day 1 starter kind of guy, instant upgrade.
Again, just don't do something stupid and trade back.
Right.
Please do not trade back. Just keep it simple. Draft the players that you need.
Diesel, look at what the Georgia defensive linemen have done for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, they carried him to a Super Bowl, right? Not they were a big part of the reason Philadelphia was there. So I think that'd be a fantastic pick.
I mean, they could always do the unthinkable thing and say, drafting guys out of South Carolina really works out for us, and really reach on Nick Emanwari.
That'd be a big reach.
Could you imagine Nick Emanwari being a top 10 pick? I don't know that safety is the number 1 need, but
it's not. But be interesting, man.
It'd be wild. When we come back, Cole, let's talk wide-ranging college basketball topics with one of the biggest names in college basketball punditry. He's got 75,000 followers on Twitter. Adam Zagoria of zagsblog.com going to join us next. business that we were bringing on Adam Zagoria of zagsblog.com on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. They texted back with exactly 3 words: high-level guest. Men want to be near him. Women want to be with him. He is a writer for New York Times Sports, Forbes Sports, and, of course, the aforementioned zagsblog.com. Adam Zagoria joins us here on Wire to Wire for the very first time. We appreciate you making some time to be with us today. How you doing, pal?
Thanks for having me, fellas. I appreciate that intro.
Absolutely. Adam Zagoria, zagsblog.com. You know, some people have been hearing zagsblog.com for a very, very long time. So your name is synonymous with covering basketball at a high level for a very, very long time. So let's bring it right here to us in the upstate of South Carolina. Brad Brownell had kind of an up and down career for the majority of his tenure at Clemson. The athletic director staff there had a lot of patience with him, and it's paid off, especially in the last 2 or 3 seasons. I don't know how much of it has to do with the NIL era, but Brad Brownell has certainly done a phenomenal job pulling, 2 or 3 pieces out of the transfer portal every year. To what do you attribute a guy like Brad, who was kind of seen as a high-level, high-quality coach for years and years and years, just didn't have the consistent success?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just proven, he's one of these guys that's one of the top coaches in the business. Maybe the everyday fan, casual fan doesn't know who he is, but people who, follow the sport and cover the sport certainly know who he is. And, now you get his name linked to places like Indiana and, big-time jobs like that. I'm sure your fans don't really want to hear about that, but it's always a compliment, when the coach is mentioned for jobs like that.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up Indiana because obviously they're searching for a new coach, and as basketball fans like to throw around names and rumors, Adam, you hear Chris Beard come up. Is that in your mind a possibility at all whatsoever?
Chris Beard, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's, again, nobody disputes that Chris Beard is a great, guy's clearly a great coach. Obviously had some baggage. I don't think that's a secret, but he's moved on to the point now where he's, a step removed from the stop where he had the baggage. And a lot of times, it's kind of like Rick Pitino up here at St. John's, had some issues at Louisville, but then went to Greece, went to Iona, obviously proved he's still a great coach, and it was sort of safer for St. John's to hire him right after he'd already, been a step removed from Louisville at Iona. And it's kind of a similar thing with Chris Beard. With Indiana, it's like I had one of my colleagues say to me, maybe they shouldn't try to swing for the fences and hit a home run with, a Brad Stevens or a Dusty May. Maybe just hit a double off the fence and get Brad Brownell, kind of a safe, very smart hire. So, I don't know what direction they're going to go in, but I sort of like that analogy.
He is Adam Zagoria of zagsblog.com, joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. The SEC has, for the longest time, been a pretty down conference in college basketball. It was Kentucky and everybody else. Well, that has certainly changed over the past couple of seasons. They are top to bottom, by far the best conference in college basketball. How sustainable is that? I mean, you don't necessarily have to go, on a 2-loss run or a 3-loss run to make the NCAA tournament in the SEC. But when you have this many elite level coaches in college basketball, do you believe that they can kind of maintain this number one spot when it comes to the conference pecking order for a long period of time, or does this cycle back out before too many years?
I don't see why they can't. I mean, I think a couple of years ago, the SEC, it's been written about, made a commitment to basketball, to men's basketball, after they've obviously been a football league for so long. They invested in resources, invested in facilities. Obviously, NIL at places like, Arkansas and Kentucky is through the roof, and they have, some of the best coaches in the business there, and Rick Barnes and Bruce Pearl, and Cal is still in the league, and then you got newer guys like Mark Pope is doing a great job. Buzz. Now they probably are going to set a record here with 12 or 13 teams in the tournament. The Big East currently holds a record with 11 in 2011. And you got 3 or 4 legitimate teams in that league that could win the whole thing, right? Auburn, certainly Florida, which had a big win last night, Alabama. But, I think at the end of the day, it'll be a failure if this league does not win a championship, kind of similar to the Big Ten. I mean, the SEC has not won a championship since Kentucky in 2012. The Big Ten, it's now been 25 years. Bill Clinton was in the White House last time the Big Ten won a championship with Michigan State in 2000. So, both of these leagues are going to get 10, 12 teams in the tournament. But if they're not cutting down the nets in April, I think it'll be a failure for both of those leagues.
I want to ask you about the ACC. We touched on the SEC there, but with some news within the last 24 hours, with a Duke assistant coach and Jai Lucas being named the head basketball coach at Miami. A very interesting hire by Miami AD Dan Radakovich, who most fans here in the upstate know is the former Clemson AD. What do you make of this hire? And when you talk about the ACC trying to get back to a place of dominance, do you think this could lead to a snowball effect there?
Yeah, I actually reported on that February 22nd, I'm going to say. So I want to say I was out ahead of that story a little bit a couple weeks ago. And it's a little bit of a weird deal, right? Because Jay Lucas is actually going to leave Duke after the regular season, which is Saturday when they play North Carolina, and take over at Miami. I think his press conference is Monday. So it's pretty unique that a guy leaves, one school that's got a chance to win the championship before the postseason, goes to his new school. But in this modern era, the portal opens, I think, March 24th. So they want to get him in place to, get working on the portal and stuff like that. I think there's a possibility that some peripheral Duke players who he recruited, maybe a couple of them transfer to Miami. I don't know. He's got good relationships. But, Jay Lucas is widely respected as an incredible recruiter. He helped get Cooper Flagg to Duke, the Boozer twins. He got Shaden Sharp to Kentucky. So I think they're kind of going in a 180 opposite direction from – sorry, I'm walking in the streets of New York City here, guys. From Jim Larinaga, who was in his 70s. Now they're hiring a 36-year-old young go-getter who's got great AAU recruiting ties, and they're trying to build the program, with a guy who's known for getting five-star players. And it's not hard to recruit players to Miami, obviously. So it'll be interesting who he hires on his staff and who he brings in as his assistants there.
Adam Zagoria joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryce. And, a couple of weeks ago, it was made a pretty big deal out of the contract terms finally coming out about Hubert Davis's deal at North Carolina, his extension, and especially coming off the heels at the time, a season that looked pretty poor, like they were headed for maybe an NIT berth. Now they're looking at maybe the first four or the last four into the NCAA tournament. Big deal, little deal, no deal about all of the brouhaha with that contract information starting to come out.
I mean, I just think there's, it's obviously one of the biggest time programs in the history of college basketball. It's the bluest of blue bloods. There's a lot of pressure there. Let's not forget Hubert did get that team to the national championship game a couple years ago in his first year on the job. But I have a bunch of friends in Chapel Hill and in North Carolina, and, they haven't been real happy with how things have gone. This year's team, I don't think the roster construction was great. They don't really have a big man. They have a lot of sort of interchangeable guards and wings, and they're missing something in the front court. But, they got a big chance, obviously, Saturday against Duke. I don't expect them to beat Cooper Flagg and company, but, if they do, boy, that would be a huge way to end the regular season. And then Hubert has a chance to make a statement in the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament if they get into it.
Hey, Adam, you mentioned Duke there. I want to go back to a story that you did towards the end of last year. I would believe that our Tolos are going to be giving you a follow on Twitter, on X, at Adam Zagoria. And if they do, they'll see this story. And I'm sure most of them have not heard this, but I wanted you to expound on this a little bit. Your article was titled, "Cooper Flagg Wasn't Born a Basketball Star. In fact, the nation's top prospect, who's now obviously playing at Duke, was lucky to have been born at all." A very touching article there that I really thought you did a fantastic job on. Can you go in a little bit deeper for those who haven't read that piece on exactly what happened in his life?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. Cooper's mom, Kelly Flagg, and his dad, Ralph, were very honest, and kind of opened up to me when they visited a hospital in New Jersey a couple years ago. And long story short, Cooper Flagg is a twin. He has a twin brother, Ace, but his mom, Kelly Flagg, had a set of older twins before that, one of whom died a couple days after he was born. And the father, Ralph, Kelly went through some serious pregnancy complications with the pregnancy and the first set of twins. And Ralph Flagg, the father, did not want her to have any more children after that because he was worried about Kelly's health and, said no more kids. And she sort of had to, persuade him a couple of years later to agree to have more kids. And that turned out to be Cooper and Ace. And then they were born premature. So she had another sort of pregnancy complication with Cooper and Ace. But the main point is that, Cooper Flagg, who's now the number one player in the country and the number one pick in the draft, almost was not born because of what happened with his older brothers.
Wow.
Wow, that's a touching story, and honestly, I was in a situation. My mother had an issue with what would have been my older brother, and if I had an older brother born, I might not be here at all either. So I have there's kind of a soft spot in my heart for the situation that family went through. On your website or on your blog, of the last four in San Diego State, Indiana, Nebraska, and North Carolina, who do you think is in real danger of falling back below that cut line? And of your first four out, Xavier, Texas, Oklahoma, and I'm sorry, I've lost the fourth one. Who do you think would be it would be criminal to leave them out?
I think you're referring to that might be Joe Lunardi from ESPN who posted those. I might have just tweeted it.
Oh.
But I'd like to see. I think North Carolina. They're only, I think, what are they, 1-10 in quad one games or something like that. So, they don't have the greatest resume at all. But I think they probably deserve a spot. And obviously, we'll have to see what happens with them and Duke. It's interesting because you got a bunch of coaches like Mike Woodson's going to retire after the season, but could still coach in the tournament with Indiana. So that's always kind of wild, when you get guys who are on their way out but end up in the tournament and then maybe they have a run or something. So, it'll be interesting here with championship week. And up here in Big East country, we're going to have, we haven't talked about St. John's. I know you didn't ask about that, but it's a huge story here in the New York area with Rick Pitino winning the Big East regular season. He's going to be taking his sixth different team to the NCAA tournament, and he's won regular season title with 5 different leagues. So that's a huge story up here in the New York area and nationally.
Adam, as we let you go, we always appreciate your time, but you said you're literally in New York City walking the streets right now. We had a very important, interesting debate a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to let you go with the answer here. Is New York-style pizza the superior style of pizza?
Oh, yeah. I go to my spot. Joe's right here on 14th and Broadway. Anytime you guys are in New York City, I'll take you there.
How about that?
Love it.
Appreciate you, man. Fantastic stuff.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Adam Zagoria, zagsblog.com. We can make a quick trip up there, right?
I question, is he really walking the streets of New York City? Because I hadn't heard him cuss at anybody yet. And every time, I lived in New York City for 3 months, and I heard people cursing at each other constantly.
Hear any sirens?
I didn't hear any sirens. I didn't hear him hopscotching around a homeless person. None of that stuff. So I'm calling that into question.
No sirens, no yelling, no fighting, no protesting.
Maybe the city has changed since I was there. Maybe it's a touchy-feelier city than it used to be. I don't know.
I've only been twice. I love visiting. I could never live there, but I do love visiting.
Honestly,
I really do.
It's kind of a depressing place to live.
Yeah.
Because you're surrounded by millions of people. You're always surrounded. There's somebody always within 20 feet of you. You can't help that. But it's also kind of very isolating and lonely at the same time.
Yeah, I can see that.
If you don't have a ton of money in your pocket, New York City is a tough city to live in.
So we'll see if we can make our way up there. I'm sure our bosses won't mind at all, right?
As long as they got good pizza, let's go.
To go up there for some good pizza. You know what? Real quick on that. There's one spot. I live in Bowling Springs. They're not a sponsor, so I'm not going to shout them out. There's one spot that's New York-style pizza. It's a local place in Bowling Springs, and last Friday night, I was going to go get a pizza. 55-minute wait for their just regular pizza. 55. Would you wait 55 minutes for a New York style pizza?
No.
Okay.
Like 55 minutes if you ordered in store and you had to sit there and wait because they were that busy?
Yeah, I didn't call. I wasn't smart, man. I didn't call it in.
Well, you
Actually,
could have called
I think
it
was
in from
Saturday.
here. Okay.
I think it was Saturday. You know what? I think it might have been Saturday after the game, the game at Fluor Field. I should have called it in. I didn't. I showed up 55 minutes. Now, they have great pizza. T-Swizzle will ask where it was. You can guess. There's only one New York-style pizza in Boiling Springs that's local, T-Swizzle, so you should be able to guess pretty easily. There's a million pizza places on Highway 9, but there's only one that I know of that's truly local, mom and pop.
Cole, I'm going to give you and all of the Tolos here a secret, okay? This is something
won't be
that
a secret anymore.
No, it's okay. Like I don't need this is need to know information for everyone, okay? This is the perfect way. If you want your pizza the next day to taste as good as it did coming out of the restaurant,
because you know this, but I forgot.
Most of the time, it never tastes as good the second or the third day. What you do is you put your pizza on a cookie sheet, baking sheet, pan, whatever it is. Put it in the oven.
Yeah.
Cold. Put the pizza cold, oven cold. Turn your oven up to 425. Once it gets done preheating, bam, take your pizza out and eat.
I remember you told me, but I've forgotten exactly.
That's the perfect way to reheat pizza.
But you
got to reheat it because microwave pizza sucks.
Well, it just makes it kind of like
doughy.
Yeah, just floppy.
Soft.
Right?
It's no good.
Floppy pizza.
And New York pizza's already kind of floppy, so you need to take a little bit of the floppiness out.
And look, I love New York pizza, but I don't like the floppiness of it. I think most people in New York fold their pizza. Like, have you ever seen that?
You got to fold it in half and
because it's
kind of like make a taco out of it.
Yeah, it's just so floppy. I don't know. I like the thin. I like the thin, but I like it to be crispy. You know, I don't want. And here's my biggest problem with New York pizza: sometimes it's not crispy enough. I want like super crispy
style,
pizza.
Man.
I know, but I think I have to get a pizza, take it back home, and put it in the oven again.
You got to use the right kind of cheese. You got to use the right kind of dough. I mean, there's just the flavor is there. The flavor is there. That's how you do it. I'm just telling you. Tolos, if you have extra pizza, if you have leftover pizza, put it in the oven cold. Set your oven to 425.
There you go.
It doesn't work as well if you're using like a little toaster oven because they heat up faster.
Yeah.
But a big oven, set your oven to 425. Take it out when the oven is done preheating.
Tolos,
promise.
Want to let you know that we have a loaded show still coming your way. We have some audio. South Carolina Gamecocks now know who they are going to play tomorrow. Diesel, let's check in right here in Greenville, by the way, to the SEC Women's Tournament. There was a Tolo earlier on the stream or the text line, I can't remember which one, said, hey, look, downtown Greenville is buzzing with all of these people here. SEC Women's Tournament. Quite the draw, right? Some really good basketball played in the SEC. And as we look across the scoreboard, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, Diesel the Egg Bowl. No, that's football, but it's a tight one right now. Mississippi State leads Ole Miss by 33-32 in the second quarter of play. Florida, Alabama tonight at 8:30. How about that? Florida's not really good. Bama's pretty good, though. That might not be a bad game to watch. Georgia, Oklahoma. Oklahoma ripped Georgia a new one, 70-52. And then, as I mentioned earlier today, Vandy defeats Tennessee 84-76. Any worry, Diesel, for the Gamecocks going up against the Commodores tomorrow?
No, there shouldn't be. I mean, this women's team is, if they're focused and they play their brand of basketball, they're going to beat just about anybody by 20 points. And Vandy's good, but they're not national level elite good. And once you get there, that's where the South Carolina Gamecocks have struggled this year. They haven't lost games to bad teams. I don't think they've lost to anybody outside of the top 15 this year. Out of those, Texas, UConn, and blanking on the third loss, UCLA that when the ladies team had this year. They don't lose to bad teams, right? They handle business when they're playing against competition that they have the superior athletes. Over on the ACC side of things, Cole, today in second round action, the North Carolina Tar Heels, who are ranked number 14 in the country, handled Boston College. I wouldn't say handle, that's not the right word. They won by 7 points, 78-71. Georgia Tech definitely handled Virginia Tech 72-57. In the fourth quarter with 2 minutes and 15 seconds to play, Cal looks like they're going to eliminate Virginia in the ACC tournament. And to close things out in today's action at 7:30, this is a mountain to climb. Clemson, who finished 6-12 in ACC play this year, will play the 13-5 Louisville Cardinals.
Yeah, that'll be tough. Look, Sean Poppy's done a really good job in his first year. I mean, really, really good job. But it's going to be tough once they get in the conference tournament, and we'll see. I'm excited, though, man. I number one, Diesel love that the SEC tournament's in Greenville. I hope it stays forever. I know it probably won't, but gosh, it's like a perfect location for it. I mean, it really is.
You know, these leagues can kind of shop it around a little bit, and they may find somebody who's willing to throw a couple more bucks at it to sponsor it and to draw it away. But you know, it's like you want it. The city that wants it off the strength of how it does in the city that's already got it. So now it's like all right, this city built it up to a level 8. We're gonna buy it. It's gonna drop to more like a 5. But we hope by 3 to 5 years into this thing, we can bring it up to a 9. No, just leave it where it is and let it grow.
Diesel promo. Diesel, should I?
In promo, that's called soaking.
Oh, my gosh. You threw me off a little. Should I or should I not? Florida, Alabama tonight. I'm already in Greenville. I'm credentialed. Is it worth slipping over there for Florida, Bama tonight, 8:30? I don't know. Bama's favored by 13.5. Florida's not really good. They're 15-16, 5-11. Bama's 23-7. Bama's really good. But I don't know. Maybe go get a little sneak peek before tomorrow, find out where to park, because tomorrow's South Carolina game's at noon.
Oh, you got princess parking. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you know, I don't know where. I have to figure it out. I might get a van stuck in the garage.
Hey,
you know?
Hey, only one of us on on this show can do that, and that's me. Thank you very much. You had to bring it up, didn't you? Still sensitive about it. Though I did show the photos to Will Vandervoort.
Yeah, that's funny, man.
On Saturday, he just looked at it and said, "Oh man."
Yeah. That's great. That'll never be forgotten.
No, it's you know, I don't want it to. I think it's still out back. You know, just collecting rainwater. Tolos, we appreciate you listening today. We appreciate all of our guests that we had on, and hopefully you will catch them again on the free Odyssey app and over at thefanupstate.com. Tolos.